The boy is all muscle. Even his old father is scared of him. If he weren't so old and frail, I bet he would have made a new account and started training again. Eugene destroyed another dummy here, and couldn't help feeling annoyed. The village carpenter must have a dark heart, selling such shoddy goods. He really deserves a good beating. But tomorrow is his coming-of-age ceremony. After that, I won't need it anymore. However, his old father looked worried, because during the coming-of-age ceremony, children aged 10 to 15 will gather at the main family. They will select the strongest one through duels. But the Tang branch and the direct line are different. Tang line descendants cannot use real swords before their coming-of-age ceremony. They also cannot cultivate magical power. Thinking about this, Eugene was irritated. Being reborn as his best friend's great-grandson was one thing, but having to abide by these ridiculous rules. If his best friend wasn't already hanging on the wall, he would definitely drag him out for a beating. Let me have a good look. Beelzebub, just how tough are your grandsons? The next day, Eugene arrived at the family estate. The enormous Reinhardt castle had only one servant cleaning. And it's true, of course. There's no way there would be a welcoming ceremony. Meanwhile, only direct descendants of the Reinhardt family are allowed to have a lion emblem tattooed on their left chest. However, what Eugene never expected was that his family had actually arranged such a beautiful maid for him. She appears at the shake of a bell. I'm seriously envious. The secretary handles things when there's work to do, and when there's nothing to do, I live a life I can't even talk about. Who wouldn't be envious? But the scheming Eugene didn't think so. He knew that any misconduct on his part would be severely punished by his family, especially since he was only 13 years old. Eugene, having nothing better to do, immediately declared he would go to the martial arts field to take a look. Even with 500 gene of weight, he could still wield his spear like a dragon. In his past life as Hermo, he had never neglected his training. He never slacked off after his rebirth. Even when he was exhausted, he would train with all his might. I have to say, Beelzebub's bloodline is unbelievably amazing. The little maid beside him was incredibly surprised. She couldn't believe that he was just a 13-year-old boy. At that moment, Shuren and Shur-Er, twin siblings from the same family, suddenly appeared. They simultaneously asked what little girl Pu Eugene was doing. Eugene also noticed the situation here. She couldn't tell. Her intelligence was truly questionable. The arrogant young master from the same family had never been ignored before. He immediately shouted for Eugene to apologize to him. But what he didn't expect was, Eugene was exceptionally straightforward. Sorry. This completely stumped Shuren. He didn't know whether he should still punish them. But under the guidance of the cunning little girl, he quickly reacted. He then clamorously demanded that Eugene kowtow and apologize to him. Eugene sighed helplessly. Is this really necessary? At that moment, Shuren noticed a wooden sword on the ground nearby. He immediately picked it up and shouted at Eugene, I challenge you to a duel. Out of kindness, Eugene warned Shuren not to use the word duel so lightly. However, Shuren naturally took it as Eugene being scared. Then hurry up and clean the carriage you sat in. You've gotten cow dung all over the cushions. Eugene's face darkened upon hearing this. Such an ignorant little brat. I should still discipline my good buddy properly. He then took off the sandbags from his arm. The heavy sandbags even smashed a 5-meter deep pit into the ground. Shuren was stunned. He immediately wanted to say, buddy, this might be a misunderstanding. But his younger sister was still looking at him. He couldn't bring himself to speak. Eugene, however, tossed the other sandbag aside. Then he spoke, throw out your handkerchief. If a boy was reborn as his best friend's great-grandson, what would he do? Of course, he would beat up the other great-grandsons. Poor Shuren immediately vomited sour water. He was completely crushed on the spot. 2 li away. He didn't expect Eugene, that sneaky guy, to be so underhanded. He attacked the instant the handkerchief was thrown. Shur-Er quickly ran over to check on his brother, but he was covered before he could get close. The sailor could only helplessly turn and glare at Eugene, but he was also powerless against Eugene. Because the moment the handkerchief was thrown, the duel began. It's just that the proud young master is inexperienced. Although Shur-An's instinctive retreat weakened the attack, he was still knocked away by Eugene in one blow. Even though he has great potential for growth in the future, he's simply not qualified as a descendant of Bamut. On the other side, Shuren shakily stood up. Without even having time to wipe the vomit from his mouth, he stared at Eugene with stubborn, defiant eyes. Seeing Shuren's miserable state, Eugene couldn't help but wonder if he had been a little too harsh. At this moment, a man rushed over. Upon seeing the arrival, Shuren threw himself into the man's arms and cried out, immediately launching into a barrage of complaints. The man was Shuren's instructor, Hazel. After understanding the whole story, Chu, respectfully apologizing, bowed to Eugene. Then he hurriedly pulled him away to check his injuries. Scene change. Eugene was enjoying the decadent life of a nobleman. A young maidservant beside him presented a notebook and reported. The other young masters and ladies would arrive before tomorrow night. But what Eugene didn't know was that he had already been targeted by a scheming old woman. She is the second wife of the main family. She absolutely cannot accept that her child lost to Crab in the duel. She cannot accept the other wives' mockery even more. So she directly slapped Shuren to show her love. If Hazel wasn't the favored child of the head of the family, she might even want to get rid of him, not to mention Eugene. But now it's Eugene's turn. It will definitely arouse suspicion. We can only arrange for the cunning number 12 to approach Eugene. Build a good relationship first. Then look for an opportunity. So, in short, one must not marry too many wives. You never know which one might turn evil. Friends, please pay attention to this point. The next morning, training began with a frantic swim. As usual, a strenuous weighted run followed. But the sweet little maid stopped her. The head of the household had returned unexpectedly. He didn't know whether to send Eugene to greet him first or change his clothes. His flustered state was rather endearing. Moments later, everyone gathered at the castle gates to wait. Leading the way was the head wife, Taz. Next to him is the eldest son of the main family, Li De. Following him are the twin siblings, Lady Ji Air. With the sound of carriages, the head of the family, Ji Lei de Reinhardt, also returned. Who knew the first thing he would do was have dinner with all the children? What on earth is he up to? The young boy was stopped by a burly man. The next second, he was completely dumbfounded. He thought he looked cool at 15. Little did he know, Eugene was a man with his own ideas about his body and face. Kargis is still performing on his own. The reason it's so juicy is because I use a secret sauce. Men and women scream when they see it. Only 9.9. You can also get it. Are you an idiot? The sauce will degrade the quality. His mind is only filled with chicken. We just want to form an alliance with you. Saying that, Digera threw the spear in his hand towards Eugene. He wanted to have a chicken feather showdown with Eugene. Of course, the premise is that you truly have the strength. Eugene couldn't help but recall the situation at the dinner just now. The bloodline ritual is a traditional ceremony to uphold the family's interests. Tang Shi has been unable to cultivate magical power for a generation. He's also unable to use weapons. Therefore, he hasn't won against his family for all these years. But the head of the family decided to change the previous format of the duel. So he invited an external aid. Lord Roly Bayan, the Crimson Tower Master from Arrow, who is also a great-grand disciple of Sinea. This ceremony will involve exploring the maze he created, entering from different entrances, reaching the center, and defeating the monster boss to win. The winner can choose any treasure from the family's vault. Of course, it's all magical fantasy. It just feels incredibly real. Lu Jing saw that the monster was an old actor. I'm suddenly full of confidence. This treasure is practically a gift. But I should still play it safe. Let's test Dazara's strength first. Under Big Cousin's serious gestures, the match officially begins. Dazara attacks decisively, striking first. But in the next instant, he slammed on the brakes. The immense aura unintentionally emanating from Eugene left him breathless. He was flawless. There was no way to attack him. Hurry up, I'm short on time. Feeling underestimated, Dazara could only grit his teeth and attack. But no matter how fierce the attack, Eugene easily deflected it. Not only did she fail to touch his clothes, she didn't even move a step. Eugene, this sneaky guy, didn't forget to taunt her. The furious girl no longer held back. In an instant, a flurry of gunshots appeared. In a flash, the two exchanged over 300 moves. Suddenly, Desara's figure magically vanished, only to reappear behind Eugene. He thrust his spear straight for Eugene's kidneys. Then Eugene stepped on it. He couldn't pull it out, no matter how hard he tried. The match ended so suddenly. Even Big Cousin was speechless. That heavily burdened old lady set her sights on Eugene. But Eugene wasn't afraid at all. Because Eugene had no idea about it. Although the old lady is broad-minded, she has a dark side. She still hasn't gotten over Sharon losing to Eugene. Finally, she hit upon a solution. As long as everyone is crushed by Eugene, who would dare say her son is no good? Wouldn't everyone be happy? Meanwhile, Eugene is still being entangled and provoked by his muscular cousin. Diga and Laja cornered Eugene in his bed. Following the principle of, if you can't beat them, join them, they desperately wanted to team up with Eugene. But Eugene declared he could conquer it alone. The atmosphere became a little awkward. 3 days later, the 9 chosen children gathered before the maze entrance. On the spot, Lori Bean demonstrated making meatballs by hand. They could even be thrown. They looked at the meatballs in their hands, feeling excited. As long as they have light in their hearts, they can manifest what they desire. The first one to manifest a weapon was the number 1 seed, 12. He casually displayed a sword skill that tore through the air. At this moment, it needs to be paired with a cute, tilted head. Big Brother Muscle followed closely behind. It's very fitting for his style, one should say. Next up is Dizology, who excels at feather manipulation. The arrogant eldest son of the corpse, Lid, continues his healing journey. He's always preferred reading and magic since childhood. The buffoonish warrior role leaves him gasping for air. And then there's the nameless trio who make up the numbers. Finally, there's Eugene, the 6th. A standard sword and shield combination. Hi, Eugene. If I met you in a maze, would you attack me? Saying this, he tilted his head again. Eugene quickly asked upon hearing this. We can compete or cooperate, head of the family. After all, we all believe that the Reinhardts are family. Occasionally, one heard that the family's faces inexplicably flushed pink. Then, he offered a smile I couldn't understand either. Of course, Eugene didn't understand it either. At this time, Lori Bean took out her magic necklace again. This necklace is used to sense the boy's physical condition. If they are under too much mental pressure, the necklace will react. Lori Bean will appear immediately and terminate the assessment. The prepared boys began to enter the maze one after another. Number 12 didn't forget to cheer Eugene on. Although everyone entered from the same entrance, they would be teleported to different locations the moment they entered. Eugene couldn't help but recall the scenes of his past life exploring with his companions. Mazes. He was already tired of them. So next, it's time to show my true skills. Goblin Shui is no ordinary goblin. He once studied at the Xuanhuan Drama Academy. He's known in the industry as the evergreen tree of comics. As the saying goes, the goblins are steadfast, while the 2D world keeps changing. He just wrapped up another scene. But he had quite a lot of scenes today. This muscular young man is so dishonorable. He just attacked right away. Sure enough, all he has is muscle and no brain. Dude, you seem to have gotten the wrong card. No matter what's standing in his way, my big cousin will have just one sword. The 2 over here have successfully passed the test. The other group of 3, who were just making up the numbers, have already been eliminated. It was also a terrifyingly brutal slime, a top-tier actor in the 2D world, who eliminated them. And their next opponent is Desara, who excels at chicken feathers. Desara is seen darting and twirling through the vines, looking quite happy. Seizing the opportunity, he lands a hit. Unfortunately, it's physically immune. He can only retreat in frustration. The arrogant young master's luck is incredibly good. This trap is designed in a way that practically screams, "Look at me. I tried it with a stone." As expected. But Sharon was still complacent. He thought it was because of his previous preparation. Team 12 is amazing. It's our old trick. The skeleton is not strong. It's lunchtime, let's quickly increase the price / numbers / etc. A random slash. Charging up air. Hey hey ding dong dong yo oh dang dang dang. La la la. Oops, I seem to be lost. Meanwhile, the 2 examiners are leisurely sipping coffee. Mide seems to be very interested in magic. Gilead couldn't help but fall into his memories. Lid had loved magic since he was little. Unfortunately, his mother wanted him to become the head of the family, so he gave it up halfway. Compared to the warrior, Bamut, Lid held the wise Senia in higher regard. If he truly had the aptitude, I would take him as my disciple. At this moment, Gilad suddenly cried out. He pointed ahead in surprise, only to find Eugene confronting a giant. The giant, without warning, raised its fist to strike. But Eugene had already planted his feet, parrying the blow. At this time, between the old and new years, when neither had fully arrived, Eugene seized his chance, suddenly launching an attack. The sword light is like me, slaughtering all the trash. Eugene Reinhardt, are they cheating? You didn't hire this ogre as an actor, did you? Eugene didn't know how much shock he had caused the two old artists. To him, this is just a warm-up. Actually, Rolabian's original intention in deploying the trolls was simply to train them to act on the spur of the moment. Running away was never even considered, being defeated wasn't on the agenda. Only a genius could easily defeat a troll at this age, or perhaps a reckless brute. Of course, it could also be a brute. My cousin's dictionary simply doesn't contain the word escape. He might not even have a dictionary in his head. Or maybe he just doesn't have a brain. Though he defeated the giant pipe, Cousins reached his limit. Not only is his back riddled with hidden weapons, but he's also broken 48 ribs. I can't just fall down now. I'm just tired. Let's have a nap first. Shuren on the other side also encountered a giant pipe. Luckily, he had the stone that had proven useful before. Let's try throwing the stone to test the way again. Will it work? Sure enough, there were no muscle chopsticks. Shuren mentally wanted to give himself a 666, internet slang for expressing admiration. And he luckily also encountered Shuren. This also meant that they weren't far from the center of the maze. Shuren quickly offered to scout ahead. He had lost face in front of Shuren because of Eugene before. This time, he must regain his glory. He must show his prowess. Thinking of this, his eyes even shone with light. Brother, since the maze is all illusions, don't you think there might be ghosts? Shuren, upon hearing this, couldn't help but swallow. It's impossible. This is a fantasy-themed comic. But what he didn't know was, the moment he turned his head, a pale hand suddenly reached out. The next second, a blood-covered figure appeared instantly. So it's Dazara, the girl who's good with feathers. This girl's whole face was covered in blood, scaring the neighborhood kids to tears. He also lost face in front of the girl. But he had to be caught by him. The helpless Dazara missed her cousin very much at this moment. Unfortunately, her cousin was still asleep. But just as he was about to become a legend, the ground suddenly collapsed. Luckily, I didn't fall in. Shuren looked at the deep pit in front of him and wanted to go around. But thinking of his sister's admiring gaze, he decided to stop conserving his magic. He shifted directly to 5th gear, activating sprint. This is the feeling. Barely made it to the other side, turning around to help my sister. Unexpectedly, 12 looked relaxed, leaping lightly towards me. I hate it when the air suddenly goes quiet. Dazara, you can't escape. I'm going to get you today. Cut 2. The three of them actually chased it directly to the center of the maze. Such a big minotaur. Are you sure this is for the trials? How come the three of you are together? Eugene, the scholar, that sneaky guy, arrived long ago. To give the other players a sense of participation, Eugene deliberately left the boss for them to fight first. You've really gone to great lengths. Then let's attack the monsters in the order they arrived. Doesn't your conscience hurt? If you're scared, just go off to the side and shout, 666. The stubborn Dazara wouldn't give up that easily. Even after wiping the blood off his face, he still looked unremarkable. But he walked towards the monster with firm steps. Meanwhile, the arrogant young master declared that if they followed this order, then Eugene wouldn't have a chance. If you win, I'll call you Big Brother for life. Happiness came so suddenly. Little brother, watch how I show you later. With Dazara's entrance, the giant also opened its eyes. Even though fear still lingered in his heart, the stubborn girl still charged forward with her spear. The moment the giant crown's palm fell, she dodged it with a spin. Then she spun again and again, stabilizing her body. Face the gale. She wasn't broken. What thick skin. Dazara hadn't come to her senses yet and the giant squeezed him into its palm. But he wasn't crushed. He just enjoyed a ride on a human-sized cannon. He was flung right back to the starting point. He was completely outmatched. Why did the giant throw him out? Because the moment it grabbed him, the outcome was already decided. Next contestant. Shuren stood up on his own. He didn't forget to glance at Eugene with a proud and aloof look. Eugene didn't say anything, but his expression said it all. That detestable Eugene. It's so infuriating. Watch carefully with your eyes wide open. Shuren quietly concentrated all his magical power into his sword. It's truly a shining great sword. Although his sword energy won't last long, he's confident enough to get rid of the monster. However, the next second, it's gone. Shuren couldn't believe it. It turned out that the head of the family wanted to understand all the children's aptitudes. Therefore, magic attacks cannot be used in this maze. Shuren was still standing there at this moment, completely dumbfounded. If you're afraid of losing, just come back. The proud young master is truly in a difficult position now. Don't underestimate me. Even without my sword energy, I'll still be your older brother. What made the cute girl say no? And what made the proud young master's heart flutter? Why did the adorable Nyonyo die so mysteriously? Let's delve into the story behind Eugene. Just now, Shuren resolutely dashed towards the Minotaur. He was met with a loving blow from the Minotaur's hand. Unfortunately, he missed. He even grazed his arm in the process. Immediately, Shuren nimbly dodged and displayed his skillful maneuvers. But it's all just scraping. It's useless. What's the most effective technique against giant monsters? Of course, it's severing gold and breaking horns. Shuren thought he had seized the opportunity, but was crushed by the giant monster's knee. It's the kind of thing only a stubborn ox would think of. And seamlessly followed it up with the ox-bird hand. And then, a love home run. Free ride home. Again, unfortunately, no. Why doesn't he stay face down for longer? Sorry about your hair, little bro. At this time, Eugene gestured for Shure to come on. But the girl surprisingly just forfeited. I'm so sad that I didn't get to see the beautiful girl fly. Eugene, who had waited for so long, decided to end this farce. Since everyone has shown their presence, let's hurry home and eat. As Eugene walked in, the Minotaurs were also ready for battle. Where should he start cutting? Eugene, the sixth man, also had a way to save the situation. He leaped onto the giant's head and steadied himself. But he didn't get a chance to attack Eugene. The giant directly blasted himself with an electric cannon. His already dull mind became even duller. Seizing the opportunity, Eugene immediately launched his attack. He instantly created several afterimages. Ghost sword art. Gale force. That's impossible. He's attacking the troll's femoral artery. Though the battle is over, Eugene's completely green. See? Little brother, it's basic operation. Shuren wanted to yell some more. But he couldn't understand why Eugene didn't feel the slightest bit of fear. He felt rather excited. He also wanted to become that kind of male infant. At this moment, the weapon in Eugene's hand suddenly vanished. The Minotaur also slowly dissipated in this golden light. The bloodline ceremony was over. The two old artists who had watched the whole process were also incredibly shocked. Regardless of whether it was their own child or not, this was something they had to show off. Actually, Rodlian's initial intention was to emphasize the spirit of cooperation. He wanted the children to work together to fight the Minotaurs. He didn't expect Eugene to single-handedly slaughter them all. What kind of cheat code is he using? Jared smiled like an old man upon hearing this. Eugene has always been strict with himself since he was young. He's obsessed with cultivation. He's a martial arts prodigy. But Rodrian was worried. After all, Eugene had defeated all the children of his own family. If Eugene surpasses the family in the bloodline ceremony, it might nurture the ambitions of certain conspirators. So he suggested that Gilad adopt Eugene as his son. For Gilad, it was indeed a good suggestion. But before that, let's congratulate the returning boy. This unremarkable young man from the Pang clan single-handedly conquered the entire maze, except for the filter effect on the lens. He took no damage at all. Even cute girls were mesmerized by him. Now he's even eyeing the holy sword. I'm just afraid he won't be able to pull it out. The oil slick, having heard that the oil slick easily defeated the giant monster, Big Brother's face was full of disbelief. How could such a frail and thin body be so strong? If he were to consume my secret sauce, wouldn't he be able to punch warriors and kick demons? You're the one. Reinhardt's duo. Though his own children were basically AFK the whole time. But this doesn't affect the homeowner's happy mood. After all, Loli Bayan is still here. I always feel this guy is effeminate. I really want to give him my cousin's contact information. The homeowner had originally prepared a grand banquet, but unexpectedly Eugene cleared the maze so quickly. He could only let everyone go back to rest. At this time, however, the homeowner called out to Eugene. This caught 12's attention. Are they taking him to the treasure vault? I want to go. I want to go. I want to go. He ignored both the old and the young. The cute girl cursed you to never grow tall. They say, Yuki, you're skilled with all kinds of weapons. Basic operation, a shield and sword are expertly used in the maze. But when defeating Shuren Hidayzallah, he used a spear. Though it symbolizes the weapon era of the Reinhardt family. The great Beelzebub mastered all 18 martial arts weapons. And Helmo was also called the master of weapons. But the fairy tale book said he was the dull Helmo. Every team needs a funny guy, doesn't it? He never won a fight but was confident and radiant. In the end, he even stabbed his companion in the back. So compared to Beelzebub, I prefer Hermo. Eugene, the sixth brother, didn't know how to respond. He didn't expect the head of the family to be his fan. Eugene can be self-absorbed for a whole year with this. Soon, the two arrived at the entrance to the treasure vault. You're the first person, besides the head of the family, to come to the underground vault. Should I give an acceptance speech? Is there a holy sword inside? Yes, it exists, but you can't pull out the holy sword either. After the Great Bamut, no one has ever been able to gain his approval. Who do you think you're looking down on? The old man arrived at the entrance of the treasure vault. Looking at this magical way of opening the door, I think I know why the head of the family doesn't come here often. As the eyes lit up with a faint glow, the vault door opened as well. You go in yourself. I'll go in with you. It might also affect your performance. 666,666. Then Eugene entered the vault alone. So let's start with the holy sword. This is no ordinary sword. It's the sword from Li Bai's poems. It existed since Pangu created the world. Over the long years, it has only ever had one master. But today, it will change its name to Eugene. It's an acquaintance either way. Give me some face. Eugene gripped the hilt of the sword. Show yourself, little darling. Eugene strained so hard he almost pooped his pants. A little more effort, and he'd have had to change his trousers. It's a good thing no one saw it. It wouldn't have been good for his glorious image. Actually, ever since the Holy Sword killed the Slaughter Demon King, he's been the team's dedicated spotlight. Thinking about it that way, it doesn't really matter. You can't give up the whole forest for one tree. Real men have multiple options. Predator Asir Fei. He's actually an idiot. To play well, you must master both magic and martial arts. The key is that Taylor and the white-haired one don't match. Pass on the Kalpa, which requires preheating to release the dragon lizard. The Storm Sword Wild, which can summon the Wind Elf King. The Philanoa, which can fire lightning regardless of distance. The Polish Shield, which can deflect all attacks into nothingness. And this Serpent's Tail, which clearly belonged to a senior sister. You could take any of these weapons and not lose out. But where are Fenrir 6 and the Balrog? After all, 300 years have passed. The best items have long been taken. The optimal choice now is the Wild. Elf magic is notoriously difficult to choose. Possessing Wild is like having a cheat code. But since he's already here, Eugene decided to take a stroll. Besides magical weapons, the treasury also houses some decorative items of commemorative significance. Just then, Eugene suddenly stopped. He grabbed the necklace in front of him. He examined it repeatedly. It was his own necklace. This was a relic from his parents, the Hermos. He was still wearing this necklace before he died. How could it be here? Did my best buddy collect his remains for me? It seems that after his death, his companions didn't abandon him. Helm was killed in battle at the confined Demon King's castle, but Beaumont made a pact with the confined Demon King. He even left his belongings here. What was Beaumont thinking? Actually, Eugene isn't blaming Beaumont and his companions. They must have had sufficient reason to do so. He just wants to know the content of the pact. Beaumont, who was known for never getting close to women, had actually married so many wives. Cursed by the Demon King, he should have been annihilated after his death, body and soul. Why did he get reborn? Although many weapons in the treasury were tempting, Eugene didn't want to leave his belongings here. Moments later, the head of the family was very puzzled by Eugene's choice. Even more puzzling was how this necklace ended up in the treasury. The crude and old-fashioned craftsmanship wouldn't even sell for a single cup of instant noodles. And, through methods I don't understand, testing revealed, this necklace has absolutely no registration record whatsoever. It's utterly unbelievable. This definitely isn't one of Reinhardt's treasures. It shouldn't even be in the treasury. But I got it from there. This necklace has no value. Even so, you still have to choose. That Eugene is certain. Absolutely and definitely. But the head of the family is still wary of things of unknown origin. He's preparing to find the young mage to identify if it's a magical item. What if there's an old man sealed inside or something? Then the picture wouldn't be beautiful. Make sure there's no problem before you give it to Eugene. But Eugene didn't choose Reinhardt's treasure. So he said you can go to the treasury and choose another one. Happiness came so suddenly. I didn't expect the head of the family to be so adaptable. He's truly a great fan of Helmore. Then there's nothing to hesitate about. I've decided it's you. Wildstorm, Vilt. Wulong. There's bound to be a brilliant strategist within 3 meters. There's always a fear that a younger sister might be around the older brother. You use that feather so well. Why don't you choose the long-haired one? Eugene, whether it's Calbus or Rontiz. Which stupid thing is stronger than this sword? Get out of the way. Desara Men's romance is only about great axes and warhammers. It's okay if you can't lift it now. But when I get home, I'll give you as much of my secret recipe sauce as you want. The ultimate destiny of a warrior must belong to the crushing hammer. Siegfried. That's the toy a real man should have. Watching the two arguing before him, Eugene felt a splitting headache coming on. But this time, the treasure vault truly didn't contain the former demon lord's weapon. It must have been sealed away somewhere by Behemoth. Although this sword isn't from Levi's faction, it's under the protection of the Elf King's blessing. Later, you'll be able to summon elves by cultivating your magical power. And don't you think it matches my color scheme perfectly? But the siblings didn't want to pay any attention to Eugene at all. They had to settle the argument today. Eugene didn't bother them anymore. This was the first time in his life that he held a real exquisite sword. He had to show it off. Elegance never goes out of style. I, Eugene, must nail the temperament aspect. It's a minute on stage. 60 seconds off stage. This move looks difficult, but it's actually not simple at all. Meanwhile, the two veteran artists are fiddling with Eugene's necklace. The young mage on stage performs a flashy magic trick, but finds nothing. I can't believe this is from Reinhardt's treasure trove. It's just a plain, ordinary necklace. Skeptical, Rory Bean decides to investigate further. The young mage raises a middle finger. Magic exists everywhere in this world. Therefore, most objects contain magic. By reading the residual magic, he can see the corresponding memories. Then, the young mage slowly infused his magic into the necklace. Memories of the necklace's past instantly flooded his mind. It was about 100 years ago. He bought it at a discounted price at the capital's wholesale market. Nothing special about it, since he confirmed that there was no old man hidden in the necklace. The head of the family decided to give it to Eugene later. He looked out the window at the moonlight. The midday boy couldn't help but smile with motherly tenderness. He intended to accept Lola Bian's proposal, to make Eugene Reinhardt his adopted son. What's coming will eventually come. A 13-year-old boy is already thinking about his distant cousin. So young, yet his thinking is so mature. He knows it will be difficult to find a partner when he grows up, so he needs to settle this early in his childhood. Just this morning, Eugene was exchanging sweet nothings with the little maid. Suddenly, Jiwon, the lifelong bachelor of the Reinhardt family, appeared. He wouldn't allow anyone to find love before him. Although Eugene was unhappy, he still bowed respectfully. He planned to quickly get rid of this guy. But Jiwon had already seen through his thoughts. He grabbed Eugene and held him tight, preparing to drag him away. There are already few single maids in the house. We can't let old Eugene get away with this. They quickly wanted to take Eugene to see the head of the household. Eugene had no choice. He could only go with him. At this time, the head of the household, Jiriad, was already waiting. He did have some things he wanted to discuss with Eugene. First, Eugene's necklace. A young mage already used magic to read its memories. Nothing unusual. Just an ordinary necklace. Eugene was instantly dumbfounded. Because the magic memory was created by Xenia. If the young mage found nothing, someone must have put new magic on the necklace. I wonder who, Beaumont? Or Xenia? But now isn't the time to investigate the past. Let's get the necklace first. The head of the family is decisive. He said Eugene can have it if he likes it. Eugene asked for you today. Actually, there's something else that might surprise you. But it's good news for you. Hearing this, Eugene actually already has a lead. I admit number 12 is kind of cute. I do have a little bit of a crush, but I don't want to get married yet. No wonder he didn't care at all when his brother was humiliated earlier. He just kept smiling. So that's what he was waiting for. He's been playing us. We're still young. It's really not suitable to talk about marriage. Stop, stop, stop. What are you fantasizing about? Eugene, I never intended for you to marry number 12. I'm fine. At this moment, Eugene wished he could die on the spot. So what exactly do you mean? I only wanted to adopt you as my godson. But you were hitting on my daughter. No, there's a misunderstanding, it's impossible. Stop playing that weird background music. What if I told the 12th what you just said? Or would you rather just kill me? Then the head of the family said he could bring Gerhard over as well. He would respect Gerhard like he respects his brothers. He just wants Eugene to return to the main family. This would definitely be very beneficial for Eugene. Of course, he's still young now. In a few years, it wouldn't be impossible to target the 12th again. Lu Jin thought only girls were interested in him. Unexpectedly, the old man in front of him also wanted him. Not only wanting to give him endless money, but also wanting to teach him ultimate magic. Isn't it infuriating? It's not easy to cultivate magic in this world. First, you need the magic stones of high-level monsters. The price, of course, is ridiculously expensive. Secondly, it requires a highly skilled person to provide guidance. Only those who can master it within 2.5 years can be called geniuses. And as a crab among the family's crabs, Gerard obviously doesn't have the ability. Eugene originally thought he would have to grow on his own. But if he returns to the main family, then it can only be said that it's truly amazing. Can you imagine a life where you don't have to check prices when you buy groceries? Of course, the specifics still need to be discussed between Gerard and the head of the family. Immediately, Eugene expressed his desire to learn magic from the strongest person, because he was very curious about just how powerful the current head of the family really was. Upon hearing this, Gerard smiled faintly. The strongest person in the Reinhardt family right now is not him, but rather, that seemingly unreliable old woman. Eugene, the 6th child, truly didn't expect that at all. Come clean, Eugene. Since when have you been eyeing my house? Can we not talk about this? After an awkward farewell to the head of the household, Eugene caught a whiff of a captivating fragrance. It was clearly the scent of perfume, highly concentrated through heat extraction, and it was coming from the corner ahead. That person hadn't moved. He must have been waiting for a long time. Sure enough, as Eugene turned the corner, second Mrs. Anissa just appeared. She even pretended to be surprised by the encounter. This poor acting is saddening to watch. On the other hand, the surprise on Eugene's face was just right. Hello, I'm Eugene Reinhardt from Kildare. I didn't expect to meet you here. You've been chatting with the head of the family for a long time. Is there something you want to tell me? A twitch crossed Anissa's lips. With his short temper, how could he possibly tolerate a bumpkin being so rude and disrespectful? But Eugene did, after all, slaughter his way through the entire bloodline's generation. Their future growth will surely be astonishing. It's better to maintain a friendly relationship with such a person. Then, I'll just shove 12 into his arms. Won't he be at my mercy then? Anisha, who was calculating silently, didn't waste words. She directly asked what Eugene and the head of the family had discussed. Eugene replied. After all, it was a private discussion, so she couldn't reciprocate. Seeing that Eugene was being stubborn, and even flattering her, Anissa had no choice but to explain that she was just asking casually. You and Sharon had a little misunderstanding before. I was just apologizing to you on her behalf. What she didn't know was, Sharon was almost becoming Eugene's shape. You don't have to worry. After all, we're family. Hearing family, Anya frowned. While the words weren't wrong, coming from Eugene, she found them incredibly jarring. They exchanged a few more perfunctory words. Eugene found an excuse to slip away. He really didn't want anything to do with that woman. Anissa stood there, silently watching Eugene. The expression behind her fan was quite gloomy. Little brat, just you wait until you fall into my hands. I won't let you off easily. Consider yourself lucky if you escape unscathed. The old father with a lot of fat gave birth to a son with muscle cramps. Sometimes he gets fierce. Even he himself is scared. He thought this bloodline ceremony would make his child face reality. But Eugene easily killed his way through, winning the championship. This made Jihad's eyes well up with tears. He was proud of it. 2 days later, Jihad finally arrived at his family home. Until now, he still couldn't believe it. But when he saw the boy waving to him from a distance, saw the boy's innocent smile, at that moment, Jihad no longer hesitated. He rushed forward. He pulled Eugene into his arms. So what if he's from a noble family? So what if their statuses are different? Isn't he still crushed by my son? Gerard, holding Eugene, wept with joy. At this moment, he truly felt incredibly proud. Didn't he say when he left, "Isn't that a piece of cake? You don't distrust me, do you?" At this time, Jihad finally noticed Gilad beside him. He quickly bowed and greeted him. After all, his own seed had crushed them. It's better to keep a low profile. Although I don't want to deprive you two of your good time, but could you please come inside and chat? Jihad readily agreed, but still looked back at Eugene reluctantly. Then Jihad got straight to the point, proposing to adopt Eugene. Furthermore, Jihad could also live at the main house afterwards. Living at the main house. After a moment's thought, Jihad suddenly stood up. Before, he worried that the other 3 children wouldn't accept Eugene. He also worried that Eugene would be ostracized by the family. Gilead understood what he meant. Even if Eugene became his adopted son, the elders wouldn't allow Crab to become the head of the family. So as long as Eugene harbored no greed, he wouldn't restrict Eugene's development. Eugene could become brothers with his sons. I can be with his daughter. It's a long and complicated story. Let's not talk about it. Gerhard also knows. Only at home, Eugene will have more possibilities. As his father, he should make the right choice. But he still couldn't help feeling a little disheartened. Eugene, seeing his father like this, knew that Yang Zi must have dealt him a considerable blow. Gerhard walked closer and leaned towards the Stormwind sword at Eugene's waist. It was something he couldn't afford even if he spent all his money. Though he wasn't very willing, he still told Eugene that he hoped Eugene could become the Ben family's adopted son. But living under someone else's roof in the future might present many difficulties. Eugene, however, smiled confidently. He, Eugene Reinhardt, wouldn't be bullied anywhere. And he wouldn't forget his name, given to him by his deceased mother. His real father was only Gerhard Reinhardt. Eugene actually had no intention of becoming the head of the family. But whether others believe it or not, that's a different matter. After all, the head of the household's 2 wives are not easy to deal with. Faced with discontent and suppression, Eugene has 2 solutions. The first is to ignore it. And the second, of course, is to confront them head-on. Some people, you can tell at a glance that they are father and son. Some fathers and sons, you can tell something's up just by looking at them. Jihad's arrival not only occupied Eugene's room, but also his maid. Ultimately, Eugene single-handedly shouldered the burden of the entire family. At the banquet, the father of Eugene's cousin was enthusiastically selling his secret sauce. Eugene strongly suspected that their family was running a pyramid scheme. The second wife in the corner watched everything with a cold gaze. Sharon looked like a meek and timid little thing. Lift your head up. Mind your posture. Sharon, upon hearing this, quickly straightened his back and lifted his head. Then the old lady began to lecture Sharon. He will inevitably be compared to Eugene from now on. After all, this is the first time the family has lost to the crab. Sharon should be ashamed of this. But he must never give up. If he wants to become the head of the family, he must work even harder from now on. He also needs to get along well with Eugene from now on. Only then will Eugene become his assistant. However, the arrogant young master is in a predicament. Should he send Eugene gifts? Meanwhile, Sharon caught up with Eugene. I heard you like me, and even asked my father for my hand in marriage. That's absolutely a rumor. It never happened. Then what's with this picture? Did you secretly draw it? I'm only 3 years old. Eugene, you're a pervert. There's no place for me in this family anymore. Meanwhile, others are discussing Lid's magical studies. Lid will travel to Arrow with the young mage. But whether he can finally become an apprentice depends on Lid's magical aptitude. Of course, the young mage will submit multiple applications for Lid, giving him more opportunities. At the same time, it will prevent Lid from being criticized for being treated differently. It will create a good learning environment for him. The boy felt healed at this moment. Actually, it doesn't matter where he goes. He just wants to leave this suffocating family. But the first wife clearly didn't like this warm scene. He told Lida to seize this learning opportunity. He is the son of Tawas. Then he must stand up. Even in Yarrow, he must not slacken off. The boy was so scared that he quickly begged his father for help. Jareed was helpless against his wife. Tawas looked indifferent. It was just his mother's parting words to her son. But he was already going crazy inside. That old woman must be delighted now. But he had no other choice. I only hope that Lida will give it his all in Yarrow, and then make a triumphant return. The next day, Lida went to Yarrow with the young mage. The other contestants also tried to go home. Eugene, however, was preparing to begin training in the magic world. There are mainly 2 types of magic cultivation: breathing techniques and kicking techniques. In his past life, he used kicking techniques. Later, under the guidance of Senia and Bemets, he transformed it into a breathing technique. Then, Kid, the golden child, arrived deep in the forest. The spiritual vein of the Reinhardt family wasn't naturally formed. Instead, it was created 300 years ago by Bemets himself. Eugene was quite impressed by this. Kid said the less magical power one has, the better they can cultivate. Children of the main family start cultivating at the age of 6. The twin siblings took 3 days to sense their magical power. It takes about a week for Lida. And someone Eugene's age would need about a month. Even with his help, it would probably take 10 days. I hope Eugene doesn't get discouraged. Eugene didn't think much of that. Dude, it won't even take 10 minutes. Just wait for the music. Even the strongest member of the Reinhardt family couldn't comprehend the rebirth hall Eugene had opened. He even had the audacity to assert that perceiving magic would take at least a month. Little did he know, for Eugene, magic was like fireflies in the pitch-black night sky. So vivid. So outstanding. Isn't that just where the light is? How could it be so easy? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Jiwon felt that something must have gone wrong somewhere. With his CBU burning intensely, he almost knelt before Eugene. But, young man, sensing magic is only the first step. Next, you need to delve deeper into learning the breathing technique. The Bai Yen style is the top-tier breathing technique passed down in their family. When activated, the magic will manifest as a high-density white flame, like an exploding lion's mane. However, Jiwon noticed. He had barely finished speaking. Eugene had already started using his magic over there. Eugene was seen slowly gathering his magic with his breath. Then, he channeled it into his heart using the airflow of the Bai Yen style. This can't be a real lesson. This is the breathing technique. It's not breathing. Could it be that the head of the family sent him to deliberately mess with me? Eugene's actions were completely challenging his understanding. But Eugene didn't care at all at this moment. Ji-won, because he possessed memories from his past life, found it very easy to sense magical power and use the breathing technique. But is this body absorbing magic power too easily? I can feel the magic power increasing within me with every breath. Is this the power of my good buddy's bloodline? Gotta say, you're truly something, Beelzebub. And the size of the core is nothing to scoff at either. Looking at it this way, being reborn as your great-grandson isn't so bad after all. As Eugene's training came to an end, there was a hint of awkwardness in the air. Lao Lu Ji-wen wasn't sure if he should say something polite. It seems you have a little bit of talent for cultivating magic power. A little bit stronger than I was initially. But too much is as bad as too little. Let's stop here for today. On the way back, Ji-wen popularized the subsequent cultivation of Bianchi. As magical power increases to a certain level, the core will split. This way, the body can contain more magical power. It can also allow the split cores to resonate. Those split cores are called stars. In the history of the Serene Heart family, only Beelmut has cultivated to 10 stars. Ji-won and the head of the family are both 6-star. The young masters and ladies of the main family are all 1-star now, but the twin siblings should be able to reach 2 stars next year. They started cultivating at the age of 6. It took them 8 years to reach 2 stars. But Eugene's talent is slightly better. As long as he doesn't slack off, it should be a little faster. To this, Eugene Sunshine said he would definitely train hard. You foolish trash. Soon, you will feel the terror of the Rebirth Scroll's wrath. Back to the manor. Ji-won decided to first report the persecution he suffered today to the head of the family. He asked Eugene to rest first. But this fatigue was nothing to Eugene at all. He could also do something interesting. As luck would have it, the maid encountered the returning Eugene. She was about to rush forward and offer herself. Luckily, Eugene noticed in time and stopped her, asking the maid to fetch the storm sword. Girls are nothing compared to the fun of sword practice. It's a good opportunity to see if he can summon a spirit and sign a contract. Eugene then calmed himself down. He slowly infused his magic into the sword. Suddenly, the world changed color. The wind picked up, and clouds gathered. A huge tornado was conjured out of thin air, and within the eye of the storm, a voice was heard. It said uncertainly, "Are you Kermode?" Eugene remembered the voice. The voice's owner was none other than the Tempest Elf King, Tanfister. The boy reborn after 300 years, had his identity revealed by a sword. Because no matter how much time passed, he would never forget the boy's soul. Quickly tell me, why didn't Tanfister Beelmuth kill the Demon King? It's impossible to know Beelzebub's intentions. The battle at that time was incredibly fierce. In the end, only Beelzebub and the Dark Blue Demon King remained. But during the final battle, Beelzebub sheathed his sword. Beelzebub and the Demon King made a pact. Tell me, what exactly was the content of the pact? I don't know the content of the pact. I went offline the moment Mute received it. I don't know about this either. Nor that. Are you a paramecium or something? But the Elf King said he no longer has time. Normally, Eugene's meager magic wouldn't be enough. It was a familiar soul that insisted on opening the door. Eugene still wanted to explain himself, but his body could no longer support him. His magic was depleted, and he collapsed into unconsciousness. This frightened the little maid beside him. She hadn't even warmed his bed yet. How could Eugene fall down? When Eugene woke up again, it's late at night. My head hurts like I drank fake alcohol. It's totally a heart filled with excitement, shaking hands. But I'm also very happy to meet my past companions again. The little maid who entered at this moment finally felt relieved. Although she found it strange to see the boy trembling his right hand in bed. But she didn't pay attention to these details. Hurry and invite the heads of the families over. Soon, the two of them arrived at Eugene's room. Gilead quickly inquired about what happened with the daytime incident. Did he summon a spirit? Eugene didn't know how to explain it. It was so loud. And he summoned the Spirit King. This was seriously inconsistent with his usual low-key and sincere image. It seems I have to come up with an excuse to fool them. I accidentally summoned the Elf King. I don't know what happened either. They thought they only summoned an elf. Unexpectedly, they summoned the Elf King. They messed up big time. This is completely unreasonable. Eugene thinks the Elf King is a bit arrogant. He actually finds him not powerful enough now, but he's looking forward to dating him again in the future. Then he returned to the elf realm. Jair's literary beard was twisted with laughter. he couldn't help but exclaim that Reinhardt had a worthy successor. He entered the White Rock Chamber in the blink of an eye during the day. Then with a flick of his little hand, it was the Golden Legend again. His future achievements are limitless. Balabala urged Eugene to have a good rest. Originally, after a lifetime of blood ties, he planned to continue his travels with G1. No, it's a journey of cultivation. But now he would ask G1 to stay, and properly teach Eugene. Of course, the twin siblings would also follow, to prepare Eugene well. On the other hand, Shuren and Shur-Er were greatly disheartened to hear that Eugene's cheat had gone online. The two finally started to cultivate seriously, only they didn't know that the gap between their future selves and Eugene would only grow wider. After all, if hard work was effective, what would be the point of reincarnation? The next day, Eugene woke up again, and couldn't wait to pick up the storm sword. As magic flowed in, a cute and bouncy little sprite appeared instantly. It's pretty obvious he's not the king. Where's your king? Let Tan come out. Call me Sprite. Little sister doesn't put up with that. Eugene just charged forward with a powerful headbutt. Then, they vanished in a flash. Eugene still had many questions, but he could only wait until he became stronger. Back then, he single-handedly carried 4 others to crush the Demon King's castle. Unfortunately, he died in battle. His brother's DPS wasn't enough, but it didn't matter. In the future, he would slowly search for his companion's traces. He'll take down the remaining 2 Demon Kings sooner or later. A family must stay together. The girl bit her lip tightly, heartbroken, but the man waved his hand, and left nonchalantly. It's simply because all she has in her head are muscles. Such a handsome young man. I'm not my Eugene anymore. 3 years have passed. Eugene's White Rock has reached 3 stars. But for Eugene, this is far from enough. It's time to go to Yarrow to learn magic. These words painted a single word on Shuren's face. Nonsense. Although the arrogant young master couldn't beat Eugene, but he never gives up on talking someone into submission. But Eugene just picked up a 3-star directly on the spot. The white flame energy generated by the resonance directly blinded the food safety dog's eyes. He clearly started practicing 7 years later than him. But his magic power had already reached 3-star. What are you doing? I can't help it, I'm a genius. Simply cultivating magic power can no longer satisfy me. So you need to expand your skills. I really want to kill you. Eugene said. If you think you can, stand up. Let's see if I can beat you to death. Shuren could only turn his head arrogantly. He couldn't admit. He just didn't want Eugene to leave. So let's immediately bring up the example of Lid's failure. Lid, due to his mediocre qualifications, failed to successfully become a disciple. Although he entered the magic tower through the back door, he wasn't officially on the payroll. It was just a waste of time. Regarding Shuren's arrangement for his older brother, Eugene was extremely furious. Shuren was so scared he trembled. Shuren could only scratch his head helplessly. He said that if Eugene went, Yarish would definitely be very sad. Eugene didn't believe this at all. Shuren hadn't spoken to him for a long time, nor had they trained together. So if he were sad, that would be a miracle. Watching Eugene walk away, Shuren kicked the long sword away with a kick. Damn Eugene. Serves him right for being single. On the other side, the head of the family who learned about this also looked surprised. Reaching 3-star at your age is unprecedented. Learning magic will only waste your talent. But Eugene didn't listen to the head of the family's chanting at all. He was determined to leave. The head of the family had no choice. He could only sternly inform Eugene that he absolutely must not come into contact with black magic. Arrow has a black magic tower where black magic practitioners gather. Although people's understanding of black magic has changed somewhat now, as a descendant of the Great Bamut, the Reinhardt family must always be wary of black magic. After bidding farewell to the head of the family, Eugene prepared to return to his bedroom, passing by door number 12, but the girl stopped him. He didn't understand why Eugene, who had already learned elf magic, still needed to go so far to Arrow to learn magic. If you don't train hard, my brother and I will surpass you soon. Isn't it more interesting to spar when the time is right? Besides, haven't you stopped sparring with me already? Then if I spar with you in the future, can't you stay? Eugene, the Iron Man, abruptly interrupted the girl's spell. He absolutely has to go to Yarrow, and he doesn't know how long he'll be gone. Jurhad has completely adapted to life at his family's home. The fat on his belly is all gone now. Seeing that Eugene had no attachments left, the girl quickly stated that he was leaving. Uncle Ji-won will be very sad. His older brother will be very sad too. But none of this will affect Eugene's Dao heart at all. Master Shurer will cultivate well and then prepare to leave. Mei Zi quickly poked her head out and called to the departing Eugene. Are you really going to leave? But Eugene didn't turn his head back and just waved his hand. He is very sad. Some words were left unspoken. Actually, he didn't want Eugene to leave either. Arrow is a magical city floating in the sky. For only 9.9, you can enjoy express delivery service in the sky. In nearly 200 years, there have been only a few dozen crashes, but no one has left a negative review. It's arguably Arrow's most popular mode of transportation. Those who crashed are no more. How can he get a bad review? Eugene quickly interrupted the tour guide's sightseeing speech. This awkward chat is a complete waste of time. It's better to go to Senia's mansion first. But the tour guide became even more enthusiastic, because Senia's mansion is a must-see spot for tourists. About 200 years ago, Senia left a letter saying he was going into seclusion and disappeared. No one knows where he went. Many magicians have tried to track him down, but to no avail. The tour guide has a theory. He thinks Senia went to the magic mirror Mud alone. Because the day he disappeared was the anniversary of Helmo's death, Senia must have been unable to forget his deceased companion. Rumor has it that Helmo had a secret crush on Lord Senia. Before his death, Hermo also expressed his love to Senia. What a dreamy romance. What the hell are you talking about? Looking at the bewildered tour guide, Eugene was also at a loss. He quickly lied that he hated melodramatic plots, and just wanted to know other guesses about Senia's seclusion. Senia strongly disliked demons and black magic. He once vehemently opposed the construction of the dark magic tower. So it's also possible that Senia was assassinated by a dark mage. A mere dark mage assassinating Senia? Eugene naturally didn't believe it. But the bulging veins on his hand betrayed his inner anxiety. A lone dark mage is insignificant. But Haymard's demons have been consistently supporting the dark magic tower, and they undoubtedly harbored a deep-seated hatred for Senia. Eugene secretly vowed to find out the truth. He didn't believe Senia was really dead. Many people were queuing to visit Senia's mansion. With Reinhardt's influence, Eugene successfully cut in line, although he still didn't know what had happened in the past. This was where Senia had lived. He was sure he could find traces left by Senia. Eugene believes they will meet again. A girl who dreams of marriage and children, yet she has been alone for over 100 years. All because the boy she loved fell before the Demon King's castle. At the prime of her youth, she has to save the world. If everything ends, she should enjoy her life. What are you planning to do in the future? That idiot, Hermo, wants to be king. Hermo has never considered such a thing. He's never seen Senia so gentle before. This is something he could never dream of. Hermo felt his fingers stiffening. Not knowing how to respond, he could only ask Senia about her future plans. But Senia was stunned. For a moment, I was speechless. After a while, I said I imagined living like an ordinary person. Frequently marrying and having children. Then becoming an old woman and slowly growing old. I should have found a good man and lived a stable life. Why did I live alone for 100 years, never marrying? Senia, what were you thinking? Eugene, overcome with emotion, instinctively reached out to touch. Please be respectful. Do not touch. I'll be watching you. It's rare for me to feel this way. A touch would make it better. This administrator is really asking for it. Eugene, resigned, gave up on the portrait. Senia's mansion basement. A huge study. There might be clues left behind by Senia here. Please be respectful. Do not touch anything. I told you I'd be watching you. Eugene found himself wanting to knock on this melon skin. But there are more important things to do now. His necklace mysteriously appeared in Reinhardt's treasure trove. The Elf King recognized his soul the moment he appeared. It's clear his rebirth was no accident. Someone must have manipulated things. If it was Senia, then he would have certainly left clues. But there's nothing to be found here. I never would have guessed Senia. You're actually a riddle person. If you want me to do something, can't you just say it properly? While the administrator turns around. Hey, Senia. If you're not happy, come find me. I'll be waiting for you. Eugene knows. The image is simply impossible to respond. He just hopes Senia is still alive. Hopes he'll have another chance to see her. Though it's already dark. The tour guide is still waiting at the door. The generous Eugene tips him directly. I have a question for you. Do you know my older brother, Liad Reinhardt? But the tour guide, speaking in classical Chinese, suddenly grew nervous. He didn't know how to explain the situation to Eugene. Young Master Lida has zero tolerance for gambling and drugs. He's incredibly famous in Arona. Everyone knows him. He's the man who single-handedly boosted Arona's service industry GDP. He's practically the benchmark for successful men. And he's exclusively interested in succubi. He practically wants to visit them every day. Being a Reinhardt, yet dancing with demons. Eugene's fists clenched instantly. He longed to slay the succubus right then and there. But after all, he was new here, and couldn't act rashly. Moreover, simply bringing Lilith to justice wouldn't solve anything. Nipping it in the bud was the true mark of a man. It seems we need to investigate thoroughly what's going on. After all, we need to speak with facts. A boy who once yearned for magic encountered a succubus. He began to mature rapidly. Don't ask, it's all losses. Watching his brother go missing, Eugene was furious. He didn't know whether he should call his brother Litdawai Big Brother or Master now. Although I really want to drag him over and give him a good beating, it's clear that catching him red-handed is the only way to make the kid both afraid and repentant. In case there's some hidden reason behind this, some deeper meaning, we could also try to save this wayward youth. After Lid was refused entry, the two discussed the purpose of their trip. Eugene, although he wants to learn magic, won't become Roderian's apprentice. Given Lid's precedent, it's not convenient to use back channels anymore. Besides, Eugene wants to try self-learning magic. This made the sorceress beside him laugh. But before she could say anything further, an explosion suddenly occurred upstairs. As everyone knows, Crimson's specialty is summoning magic. Summoning them beforehand is no different than opening a blind box, only to see the two cute shoe dogs abandon their master. Sadly, before they could get far, they were grabbed by a giant red hand, and instantly crushed. It was none other than the tower master, Rolabian. The mage's mood wasn't great at this moment. He frankly exclaimed that the people in his magic tower were all talents. He thought he could just clap his hands together. Just as I called for help, it arrived. The three mage apprentices quickly claimed it was all a misunderstanding, but they were still dismissed from the mage academy by the furious Rolabian. Perhaps that's the charm of summoning magic. After the crisis was averted, the young mage gently descended. He quickly explained to Eugene that it was just an accident. Learning magic is still a lot of fun. Haven't seen you in years. Lorelei Bean hasn't changed a bit in appearance. But now that Eugene has cultivated magical power, he can sense that Lorelei Bean is incredibly strong, truly worthy of being one of the 5 original Tower Masters. Since Eugene intends to learn on his own, Lorelei Bean won't interfere. But she still asked the mage lady to assist Eugene. All-inclusive meals and accommodation during his time in Arrow. You can also visit the library in the tower at any time. For the next month, Eugene quickly got into the groove of studying. He spent his days immersed in the library, devouring books. Before bed, he would hone his magical and martial skills. He slept only 9 hours a day, yet showed no signs of fatigue. He had already fully mastered the art of being a mage. From beginner to expert. The magic ranking system established by Senia 300 years ago is still in use today. Magicians weave rings of magical energy within their bodies to release magic. When the magic in a ring reaches its peak, the number of rings increases. The rings are also the best way to identify a skilled magician, verified over nearly 300 years. Currently, only elves and black magicians don't use rings as an entry-level requirement. But Eugene didn't want to use the ring chamber to enter. Instead, he planned to use Reinhardt's method of magical application. However, the magical application of martial arts and magic are not on the same track at all. If he messes up, he'll definitely ascend on the spot. Unfortunately, the mage couldn't dissuade Eugene. She could only summon her staff, preparing for a physical persuasion. But as Eugene's luck and Zhou Shen's magic intertwined, the sorceress could hardly believe her eyes. The boy mastered magic in just 30 days. He lived as if he had a cheat code. A slight raise of his hand, and a fireball was created. Without any incantation, it instantly transformed into a magic missile. This completely overturned the young lady's understanding. He couldn't understand what a rebirth cheat was. The special effects looked like something he definitely couldn't withstand. He should quickly summon a steel golem to tank the damage. Moments later, Ralabian inspected the corpse of the unfortunate golem. She couldn't believe this was magic cast by Eugene. It was absurd. The Tower Master was simply unreasonable. Ralabian also realized the severity of the situation. Eugene is a silver. Is Samsung equivalent to the 3 rings of magic? He's a monster of talent. Although it will cause resentment among other magicians, the young mage still plans to prepare a letter of recommendation from Akravan for Eugene. But who did young Master Eugene go out to meet? He shouldn't know anyone in Yarrow. Maybe it's an online friend meeting in person. Eugene was staring blankly at Sinaya's statue. A tall figure was slowly approaching. That lush, full beard. And those strong muscles. Could it be my cousin, Gajis? Is this what an 18-year-old boy should look like? 3 years have passed. Eugene, your muscles haven't grown at all. But don't worry. We each have our own ways. Muscle Growth Enhancer Plus version. Only $9.99 for a bottle. Eugene quickly interrupted his cousin's spellcasting. He wasn't interested in these weird things at all. The promotion failed. His cousin came up with a new plan. There will be an auction held in Happy Street soon. And among the items up for auction this time is a legendary giant's testicle. A giant's thing? A giant's testicle. That's a great item. Muscle growth supplements made from it would be incredibly potent. But my cousin says he doesn't have enough money. He hopes you can provide some financial support. Give it up. I'm not lending you money to buy eggs. Please, you absolutely must lend it to me. Eugene, unwilling to be shot, reluctantly agreed to lend his cousin the money. I swear on my muscles that I will repay you with interest. His cousin said, he only needs 1 egg. The other one can be used for frying, boiling, stewing, and stir-frying. I heard the taste is worth remembering. Exclude the egg oil. He's quite interested in Happy Street. After Big Brother Lid became addicted to succubus venom, he developed withdrawal symptoms. He has to visit a succubus for a capture and touch session every month. So, on this full moon night, Lid will definitely go to Happy Street. The boy luckily won the favor of a succubus. He lived a lifetime in just 3 years. His 17-year-old face was etched with stories. As the eldest son of the family, his talent was far inferior to his younger siblings. He was also caught in the power struggle between his 2 stepmothers. Lid lived under their oppression for a long time. Although he later had the opportunity to study magic in Arrow, Lid lacked the corresponding magical talent. And he was born into a legendary family, so everyone had high expectations of him. Little did they know, this expectation only increased his pressure. Luckily, Lid finally found a way to release the pressure, giving him a breather, preventing a complete breakdown. But the Reinhardt family and the demons are sworn enemies. Emotionally, Eugene can understand Lid's actions. But I can't allow Lydia to do this. At this time, Lollipop, and suddenly summoned a magical letter. Eugene was shocked when he saw it. It was a letter of recommendation from the Royal Library, Akerwan. Akerwan not only possesses ancient magic passed down from the mythical era, but also the unparalleled works of contemporary sages, including the original manuscripts of Senia's 3 magical books. Suddenly receiving such an exceptional honor, Eugene instinctively wanted to be humble. He truly was a once-in-a-million magical genius. His older brother, Lid, studied hard for 3 years and still couldn't get into a single magic tower. He himself, having only been in Arrow for a month, was admitted to Akravan. Indeed, the joys and sorrows of people are not the same. Life is a series of incredible highs. But what exactly did older brother Lid do with the succubus? Eugene decided he had to personally confirm it. The Flower Street was bustling on this moonlit night. Eugene and his cousin arrived quietly. Of course, to avoid being caught. They both used transformation magic. After all, family members entering the illegal streets for the first time would definitely be trending. His cousin didn't understand, but still thought it made sense. At this moment, Eugene's subordinate called. He will stand on high ground to observe Master Lide's movements. After all, when Lide visits the red light district, he never uses transformation magic. And he always wears a long black robe. It's easy to recognize him. Upon hearing this, Eugene was furious. Visiting the red light district so brazenly. Lide's actions are simply beyond description. Heinous crimes. Enviable. But cousin doesn't care about that at all. He just wants to rush over and photograph the giant's testicles. The auction house in the Flower Street pays great attention to customer experience. All the guests are arranged into different private rooms. Nobody knows anyone else's identity. Then he's very happy. Soon, the auction officially began. Although the host's introduction was quite interesting, the items weren't the lizard's horn, but devil fruits and orchid flowers. Eugene wasn't interested in them at all. When would the giant's eggs finally appear? Big cousin was extremely anxious. But when the host presented the next item, Eugene couldn't sit still. This is an item that has been passed over many times. Its only use is to emit a beautiful light under the moonlight. It's a pretty good choice for attracting girls. However, before she finished speaking, Eugene had already forbidden bidding. Thankfully, the dramatic price increase didn't happen, allowing Eugene to successfully obtain it at a high price of 1 million. Eugene's heart was in turmoil at this moment. She never expected to see her in such a place. She who was not left in history, the one painted with colors. The place she pointed at was the shattered fragments of the legendary Moonlight Sword, a sword that had vanished from legends. Although in the eyes of Big Cousin, this thing was not worth a fraction. The Moonlight Sword was discovered in the depths of Rio, on the continent of Teyvat. A symbol of ill omen, it only acknowledges Bahamut as its master. I never imagined that such a powerful divine sword would be shattered into fragments. And there's no trace of power on these fragments. They're just like ordinary pieces of broken glass, sunk and lifeless. Mountains beyond mountains. Young Master Eugene and young Master Lida have appeared. Having received the news, Eugene hurried out. Only my cousin can remain here to guard the giant's eggs. Eugene quickly arrived at the scene, but there were 2 demon guards at the entrance. This was the first time Eugene had encountered demons since his rebirth. He almost drew his sword and charged, intending to smash their kidneys. Although the 2 demon guards looked fierce and menacing, with a ferocious appearance, and the situation seemed ominous. When Eugene pulled out 2 million cell, they bowed their lowly heads, to see Eugene off. It's over, it's over. Eugene's been targeted by the face mask, Coke, Sprite, lemon tea. Darling master, what would you like to drink? Here's 2 million for you. I hope you'll be a little reserved. Young master, you're so cute. Then let's have a little drink first. It feels like you're about to drink and drive. Then I think we'll skip it. We're not driving. Are you waiting for love? Here's another 1 million. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Are you developmentally challenged? How can someone as dense as you exist? Having dealt with the succubus, Lu Jing entered the hall alone. She could order a whole table of chicken legs to reward herself in a flash. Sure enough, the succubus didn't have any chicken legs. Good things don't last. Then I saw 2 demons supporting a mysterious man, emerging from a mysterious room. It was his good brother, Reed. He just looked severely depleted. Seeing this, he was so shocked he nearly exploded on the spot. Reed was not only messing around with succubi, to let a demon support him. It's a disgrace to the Reinhardt name. Eugene suppressed his anger and quickly stood up. He had to find out where exactly the demon was taking Liddell. Judging by Liddell's current state, he shouldn't be able to play the second half. What are they up to? Eugene, about to follow them, was blocked. They could tell at a glance that they were up to no good. They came menacingly. Their background was unknown. They didn't bother with pleasantries. They went straight for Eugene's throat with a chokehold. Unfortunately, the little guy misjudged the situation. Eugene was a man who had been built like a brick house since he was 13. His 2 accompanying younger brothers weren't intimidated either. They just drew their weapons and charged in recklessly. but they couldn't even touch Eugene's clothes. With that level of skill, they dare to rob? It's ridiculous. Friends, can anyone tell me exactly where we are? Whoa, they all passed out. But the guards are down. Looks like we can sneak in. There's a smell of contraband in the air. What the hell is this place? Eugene's appearance scared the Rocket brothers beside him. The Pre brothers, who were lost in their own world, were completely dumbfounded. I'm Mr. Kim, a famous scout. I sincerely invite you guys to star in Guardians of the Galaxy. The three brothers, failing to grasp the joke, immediately drew their swords to fight. Unfortunately, Eugene can unleash energy blasts. It's a burst fire. The three brothers were instantly knocked to the ground. Eugene immediately drew his storm sword Rocket. His brow furrowed. He realized things weren't so simple. Could this person have a penchant for slaughtering raccoons? But Eugene raised his sword above his head. In an instant, a fierce sword energy swept out. He cleared all the rooms on the first and second floors. But he didn't find any trace of Reed, since he's not on the first or second floor. Then the target is obvious. Sure enough, no matter where he is, he always likes to arrange things on the third floor. Eugene immediately leaped into the air. He discovered a mysterious room in the corner. My good older brother, your brother is here for you. However, at that moment, blood-red demonic tides surged from above the door. In an instant, a blood-red demonic pillar surged forth. In this critical moment, Eugene quickly threw the fragments of the Moonlight Sword, powerful magic light wave mirror. Not a single shard was able to withstand the mirror's destruction. Although it's just a shard, the Moonlit Sword's non-magical properties still hold true. Old man, you just used black magic, right? Without so much as a greeting. You were trying to kill me, weren't you? So it seems you're ready for a fight. The boy is the eldest son of the legendary family, but he secretly dabbles in the dark scripture. However, he doesn't intend to vie for the head of the family position. Instead, he wholeheartedly wants to immigrate to the magical city, Swimily. Victory seemed within reach. When Eugene suddenly appeared, he couldn't allow his good older brother to delve into darkness. The abruptly rising white flames resembled a lion's mane. The old gatekeeper almost peed his pants on the spot. Thankfully, the demon brother's arrival restored his confidence. Seeing this, Eugene burst out laughing. Just these two guys? They dare to block my path? The demon brothers ignored Eugene's trash talk. They directly showed off their nasty toenails. Eugene said nothing more upon seeing this. In an instant, Eugene had already begun his counterattack. But the demonic brothers remained oblivious, charging straight ahead. Witnessing his elder brother's gruesome death, Moore's courage and spirit were shaken violently. In his rage, he unleashed the most powerful attack of his life. Moore couldn't believe it. I lost so easily. But Oxford didn't give him a chance to breathe. The icy white vapor obliterated Eugene's disguise. The old man beside him couldn't believe his eyes. That signature white hair. You're Eugene. Reinhardt? Now that you know, just scram. When the time comes. The old man still tries to argue, but with his elementary school education, he can't make up a story. So he just goes for it. He steals his heart. At such a close distance, the fireball starts. Let's see how you dodge. Just a few feet away, Eugene arrived in a flash. At that moment, the sword was only 0.01 centimeters from my throat, but I didn't dare to argue. I just wanted to kneel down. Before he figured out the truth, Eugene decided to spare him for now. Reed was lying quietly in bed. Under the bed, the display case held strange items, emitting a faint, eerie glow. That's a unicorn's heart. It was an offering to seal a contract with a succubus. And the demon who will be making a contract with young Master Reed is a subordinate of Bella, the legendary succubus queen. So this is why Reed can indulge in this competition. Any reason for you to hang out with succubi? Hearing Eugene's furious question, the old man very obediently collapsed on the ground. These are all Master Lid's wishes. I dare not refuse. Master's orders. Of course you wouldn't refuse. While you are receiving a large amount of Lid's gold coins. while arranging for him to make a contract with your master. You've made a killing both in substance and appearance. You're pretty slick, old man. If you don't want to die, just kneel there properly. Eugene watched Reed's immersed state on the bed. He even had an unknown liquid on the corner of his mouth. He was instantly furious. He was filled with rage. He just slapped him hard across the face. Lied, still in a daze, was completely stunned. He couldn't figure out what was going on. Are you awake now? My good brother. Lied's feelings at this moment were indescribable. He didn't understand why Eugene was here. I'm really trying to understand your situation. But as the eldest son of the Reinhardt family, you actually intend to make a pact with a demon, and a male succubus, at that? Do you know the consequences of making a pact with a demon? Your soul will forever belong to the demonic race. You will become a slave, at the mercy of the demons. When Yan lied, do you still want to argue? His demonic friends are all very friendly and kind-hearted. He promised he wouldn't force him. They're all good mages. He loves it there. And he thinks Eugene simply doesn't understand anything. Eugene possesses unparalleled talent in cultivation. He simply cannot understand Liddell's situation. And he has no right to criticize Liddell. Innate talent is insurmountable. But having talent alone won't guarantee a carefree life. You also need to put in far more effort than ordinary people. Shuren and Shur-Er, who stayed in the main family, are also desperately cultivating. And even if you learn black magic, you won't be able to become the head of the family. Upon hearing this, Lida instantly went mad. He never even thought about becoming the head of the family. He just wants to go to that free place, to gain the recognition of his demon friends. As a descendant of the great Beelzebub, yet he longs to go to the demon capital. Hey Mud, if you weren't the eldest son of the main family, do you think they would play pretend with you? Is your head full of shit? Born at the finish line that others can never reach in their entire lives, he actually still had the nerve to whine here. Eugene had lost interest in listening. He then took out his phone to inform Roly Bayan. Moments later, the magic old man was taken away by the guards for 3 years. Time passed, and the once sunny boy had become this way. Roly Bayan's heart was filled with unspeakable disappointment. That night, the head of the household and the first wife arrived at Yarrow. At this sight, all they could do was remain silent. But at that moment, a mysterious visitor suddenly arrived. It was the legendary Black Mage who had personally made a pact with the Dark Lord of Isolation. He was also the current Black Magic Tower Master, Bozak Robize. What did he intend to do? The young man gave up his billions in inheritance. He only wanted to go home and farm with his succubus. However, his father's adopted son interfered. He not only sabotaged the initiation ceremony, but also reported them. Even worse, he caused a 3-way trial. Even the current master of the Black Magic Tower came to take responsibility. Although this matter has nothing to do with the Black Magic Tower, but the main culprit involved is a black magic sorcerer. It's like a mud-caked pair of trousers. Whether it's shit or not, it's considered shit. I can only choose to take responsibility for this matter. Imprisoning a young girl, and executing a group of followers from Fanshio afterwards. Hearing this in Gyarder, is extremely jarring. It's as if he bowed under the pressure of the Reinhardt family's prestige. He admitted a mistake he shouldn't have. Of course, the great lady didn't think so. She firmly believed that it was the dark mage who bewitched her beloved. To this end, the Black Tower Master also brought a message from the Demon King. The Azure Demon King expressed his regret for the inconvenience caused to the Deer Bemouth family. He felt extremely sorry about it. Therefore, he would personally chop off the succubus's head. When Yen Eugene flew into a rage, the Yubi Demon King had actually called Bemute darling last time. He'll kill him sooner or later. The atmosphere became awkward. The Black Tower Master chose to remain silent. He'd already given enough face. It wasn't a place to stay long. Before leaving, he didn't forget to give Eugene a mysterious smile. Eugene then rose and took his leave. After all, he shouldn't get involved in dealing with Lord Reed. He shouldn't interfere. Head of the family, Gilreth, apologized to Lord Rolabine. He said he would take Reed back to the family estate. The Grand Matriarch was shocked and dismayed. She felt her beloved son hadn't even begun his training. He had already learned his lesson about black magic. Amend one's ways. A slow sparrow should make an early start. He might become much more hardworking in the future. There's no need to bring him back to the main family. But Gilad's face darkened. Lyde's actions have damaged the family's reputation. He must return to the main family for education. There's no place for Lyde in the main family anymore. Now the main house has been raised by Shuren and 12. Lyde must stay in Yeruo no matter what. The first madam angrily rebuked Gilad for never caring about Lyde. He's always just been doted on Inisa and those two damn children. Sometimes, I feel sorry for Gilad. The head of the family and the first madam are both mentally ill, and the second madam is insidious and vicious. Truly, pure love is the only way. If you truly care about Lyde, you should let him become Rolabin's disciple. If you worry about him going astray, you should assign someone to constantly supervise him. The matriarch disagrees with bringing Lyde back to the main family. She would rather take Lyde back to her maiden home. If madam wishes it so, then let it be. Jared never expected his wife and child to go back to her parents' home. It was actually a double blessing. Lolita was solo killed by Anmo, a 6-kill streak. Meanwhile, Eugene, who was about to go back and rest, found someone had been waiting for him for a long time. It was Zack, the Black Magic Tower streamer. The atmosphere inside was too serious just now. He didn't have a chance to chat. He said a big part of the reason why he was willing to take responsibility came from Eugene. He knew Eugene hated dark magic, but asked Eugene not to hate him. Faced with the Black Tower Master's outstretched hand, Eugene chose to ignore it. Eugene hated all dark wizards. The Black Tower Master, suddenly feeling awkward, quickly changed the subject. He will, like Rolabin, recommend Eugene to Akerwan. This will greatly increase Eugene's chances of going to Akerwan. It seems like he's being very sincere. Eugene, the sixth brother, says he believes it and accepts, but he won't do anything. It's getting dark. He needs to hurry home for dinner. Chatting someone to death. The Black Tower Master then turned and left. Are you really not involved in the Lida incident? I am proud to be a black magician. So even if he's the eldest son of the main family, if he has no talent, he doesn't deserve to be called a black magician. I hope you understand what I mean. Eugene recalled Reed with a sigh of helplessness. He was just a pathetic fellow yearning for recognition. Back in his room, Eugene looked at the unicorn heart before him. The heart was in perfect condition. It was perfect for frying, boiling, or roasting. But extracting magic directly from the heart was the cleanest and most convenient method. He felt the pure magic emanating from within the heart. Eugene might reach 4 stars before he turns 20. That would be the fastest record in the family's history. Jiwon and Jaraid. Bai Yen is a 6-star. He's already one of the most powerful individuals on the continent. But they are not Eugene's goal. Baimu created the Bai Yen history. Eugene wants to integrate everything from Helmo based on his foundation. By then, all those demons will be crushed into dust. Giant's eggs sold for 300 million sell. Eugen, pay up. You're spending 300 million on 2 eggs? And you're using my money? Hurry up, Eugen. Got it. I'll give you a back rub, bro. Big Cousin is relentless. Eugene had no choice but to pay. Then, Big Cousin invited Eugene to his place. After all, the chance to see Egg personally was very rare. Hearing this, Eugene felt a shiver down his spine. Did he look like someone who'd be interested in that thing? But Eugene still decided to go back with Big Cousin. He was very interested in Big Cousin's Crimson Rock. He wanted to see how it differed from the White Rock. Maybe we can combine the two. Eugene, who was deep in thought, seemed to have discovered something. It can't be wrong. He absolutely couldn't be mistaken. That unnatural pale purple hair color. A color that only appears with immense magical power. Pushing through the crowd. Eugene finally saw clearly the figure he had just glimpsed. It was right there ahead. Xenia. Is it really you? After 300 years, the man finally saw the person he had been longing for. He had 1,000 words to say, but couldn't utter a sound. Xenia was still as graceful and elegant as before. But Eugene was no longer the same. He didn't know if Xenia would recognize him. If he told him that he was reborn as Bamut's great-grandson, he would definitely be scolded, wouldn't he? After all, even after 500 years, his personality would surely still be so irritable. He was never gentle. Eugene couldn't help but want to reach out and take Senia's hand. How could this be? Could it be a ghost? Did something happen to Senia? No, this is created by magic. The illusion weakly lowered its arms. My heart is like dead wood. My body is like a ceaseless boat. But at this moment, Senia's illusion slowly turned around. How can I tell him I'm Hormone? Will he recognize me? This nerdy look of the wry-mouthed war god should awaken his memories. Turning around, Senia seemed to have made up her mind, a slight smile playing on her lips. Are you saying you found him? The scene we both yearn for still lies ahead. Such a future. I hope to walk alongside you. You know, Senia, I'm very happy now, because I've found you too. Before we truly met, I must have become much more reliable, right? Eugene looked at the bustling street and fell into deep thought. Without a doubt, Senia is still alive, so he could come looking for Eugene. Perhaps he recognized Eugene's soul, like Tanfist did. Or perhaps he found Eugene's location through the necklace. Either way, in any case, Senia definitely knows that Eugene has been reborn. But since he can't come in person, then it must be a seal. Perhaps Senia sealed himself. Or perhaps he was sealed by the imprisoned Demon King. Either way, Senia must be acting against his will right now. This time, you came to me. Next time, I'll come to you. You must wait for me. Looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Eugene, are you afraid your tears will fall? What is he doing so mysteriously all alone? Don't waste time, hurry home and show us your Chien style. Big cousin's interest in Eugene's quirk is quite strange. He's already mastered Bai Yen style, yet he's still interested in Chi Yen style. You seem to be working on something new. Isn't it that you can't exert force without exposing your clothes? Not really. Exposing clothes plus critical hit, don't you know? Widen your eyes and watch carefully, bro. Although Big Cousin is indeed very numerous, but I have to say, the power of the Chi Yen clan is also extraordinary. The main branch of the Chi Yen clan couldn't achieve nuclear fission, but through the continuous efforts of our ancestors from the Pang branch, we've now successfully split the Chi Yen clan into 5 stars. Among the family's many branches, this is a rare achievement. My older cousin still wants to show off his 2-star strength. Eugene chose to ignore him completely. It seems that splitting the Chi Yen clan into 5 stars is the limit. Bamut created the Bai Yen clan as a secret technique of the main branch. Then he taught the crabs and their kin the Chi Yen clan's ways. Thus, a gap was created between his own clan and the crabs. Eugene couldn't understand it at all. Based on his understanding of Baimu, he shouldn't be that petty. Now it seemed, there was no need for the Bai Yen and Chi Yen clans to unite. Eugene then turned and left. I'll leave the giant's eggs for my cousin to admire alone. Back at the Crimson Magic Tower, Eugene went to the book he had used during his training with Akravan. This book must contain clues about Senia. Now that he has obtained recommendations from 2 tower masters, getting a permit should be no problem. My dear Senia, I've waited 300 years. Waiting a little longer shouldn't be a problem. The Moonlight Sword possesses anti-magic properties, but with only a fragment, it can only affect low-level magic. Therefore, if my magic isn't broken by the fragment, then it means my magic condensation has surpassed the level of White Rock City. Wait for me, Senia. I will definitely become even stronger. This was the girl's first time seeing such an explosive sight. The overwhelming male hormones were almost suffocating. She couldn't help but want to go and feel the texture. But she was stopped by Eugene's glance. She had to wipe away the tears of excitement streaming down her cheeks. Just now, the mage girl was cosplaying Senia, when she was suddenly told that Area 166 was continuously emitting vibrations and explosions. I thought maybe Eugene was playing some kind of thrilling game. My heart suddenly pounded. I couldn't wait to join in. Eugene, are you alright? Sister's here. Is this something I should be seeing at my age? He's just practicing his magic power and spells. Don't make a fuss. The fragments of the Moonlight Sword were seen floating quietly in the air. Then Eugene channeled his magic. Is this the kind of damage a low-level mage can inflict? So fierce and powerful. I'm even more tempted. What should I do? Should I just go up there and throw myself at him? Eugene has already achieved the fusion of Bai Yen style and magic. The power of the combined magic far surpasses that of magic of the same level. Plus, with the Moonlight Sword's assistance, the magic released now is even more concentrated. You must be tired from training. Young Master Eugene, how about getting a spa? Unfortunately, the Iron Eugene didn't give the young lady a chance. He planned to meet Rolabian first. Lollipop is not in the magic tower right now. She's in the Royal Library. Ark-Laven, Arrow's capital, Avran, is located in the center of 5 magic towers, surrounded by a lake. It's only accessible by boat. No other magic can penetrate the lake, because Xenia magically sealed the entire Avran. Even hundreds of years later today, the seal remains intact. Eugene couldn't help but admire Xenia's incredible skill. With his current knowledge of magic, he couldn't fathom how Xenia had sealed the entire royal city. The female mage leading the way noticed Eugene's absent-mindedness, so she briefed him on what Avril had seen and heard. Even the master of the magic tower cannot use magic in Avran. Only the royal court's magical core can cast spells freely. The magic tower and Arrow are mutually supportive. Although they are loyal to the royal family, they have the right to refuse unreasonable orders. The magic tower's relationship with the council is actually deeper. Therefore, the mages of the magic tower have become the council's ultimate fighting force. Currently, 3 people oppose Eugene's recommendation. They are the Green Tower Master, the Blue Tower Master, and the Guild Master of the Mages Guild. Eugene needs to enter and leave Akravan. He still needs their approval. Then, the young lady bowed and bid farewell to Eugene. Go for it, young Master Eugene. You're the best. Eugene certainly won't give up easily. He also needs to look for clues about Xenia in Akravan. The council chamber. Arrow's most powerful mages have been waiting for a long time. They are the head of the court mages, the masters of the red, green, blue, white, and black magic towers, and the president of the Mages Guild. That hairstyle makes me want to punch him. This is the artist sitting in the highest seat. Let Eugene look up. He is the Crown Prince of Arrow. This Crown Prince is no ordinary person. He's not only the first in line to the throne, but also a prodigy who reached level 5 before adulthood. I've heard of you, Eugene Reinhardt. I hear you're a talented man, but wielding magic and fighting with a sword are quite different. The Blue Magic Tower Master thinks Eugene is just a 17-year-old kid. He must have used Reinhardt's interpretation. The Fire-Eyed Crimson Magic Tower and the Black Magic Tower are playing dirty. Maybe he can only conjure a fireball. Eugene didn't pay attention to the Blue Magic Tower Master's attitude. Instead, he politely asked what he needed to do. You only need to release your magic. The magicians will carefully observe your magic. Normally, I'd need to examine your magic thesis and papers. But I doubt you have anything like that. The Blue Magic Tower Master's sarcastic remarks didn't faze Eugene. Because Eugene would use his own strength to blind his eyes. Does sitting high up mean you can look down on others? Does getting older give you the right to complain and nag? Eugene doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care about you. It's all about strength. But at this moment, the Magus Lords on the high platform were listless. They had seen too many geniuses. He Yuhuan's fusion alone wasn't enough to make them take a second look. As Eugene slowly raised his right hand, a magical whirlwind easily gathered in his palm, then transformed into magical projectiles that dispersed like clouds. In an instant, they coalesced again, merging into a fireball. It eventually transformed into a magical blade flashing with a cold light. He's surprisingly adept at magic transformation. He even replicated Wu Yongchang's spell. Eugene, can you use magic and inhale at the same time? Is it possible? Eugene smiled confidently. He slowly drew the storm sword. His dashing appearance caused a wave of admiration from the older women. In an instant, the Stormwind sword was enveloped by Eugene's unique white rock aura, and he still maintained the magic blade on his left hand. He actually used a core instead of a ring, and he could still use the core accurately. At this moment, the mages couldn't help but admire Eugene's excellence, but regarding his entrance into Akervin, they still needed to discuss it. Therefore, Rolabian asked Eugene to wait outside for a while. Eugene, of course, had no objections. He turned around and left with a flourish. Master of the Red Tower, you really haven't guided them? Although Rory Byan said it many times, the Master of the Blue Magic Tower still didn't believe it. Eugene is self-taught, and within just 4 months, he's Reinhardt. They are descendants of the great Bamut. How excellent is their lineage. Doesn't everyone on the continent of Teviat know this? The Grand Master of the White Tower also affirmed Eugene's talent. He saw that the power of the single-ring magic Eugene cast far surpassed that of a typical single-ring spell, although he might value Eugene himself more. But he didn't say, and I wouldn't know otherwise. The Guild Master, with his annoying hairstyle, now wishes to speak. He acknowledged Eugene's talent, but he also felt Eugene was too young. It was too early for him to enter Aklavin now. He still needed to go home and study hard. On the contrary, the head of the Royal Mage Corps was very optimistic about Eugene. He believed Eugene had unlimited potential. It was worthwhile to invest in him. After all, Eugene was Reinhardt's adopted son. He will not be able to inherit the family in the future. The original first heir, Lida, was exposed for his scandals. The current first heir in line is Sharon Reinhardt. So Eugene must leave the main family after he gets married. This is a Reinhardt family rule. It just so happens that I have an unmarried granddaughter. Don't you think that's a coincidence? Commander, you're quite humorous. Are you here to make a fool of yourself? I'm afraid you wouldn't even be in the running. Eugene possesses qualifications recognized by the Reinhardt family itself. If he gains Arrow's support as well, his future achievements might even rival the great Beelzebub. Black Tower Master, you're praising and flattering Eugene so much. Is this your own idea? Or is it the will of the closed demon king you made a pact with? Don't stretch your hand out too far, it'll be bad if it gets snatched away. Hey Ta Zhu Wenyan adjusted his glasses and chuckled. Ha ha ha. My hand is just here. Anyone want to come and take a closer look? Today, I just want to kill you all. Or get killed by you all. About 100,000. Count me in. The atmosphere was becoming tense. The White Tower Master stood up. If you disagree, then let's vote. What are you all whining about? Prince Wang also quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. Voting can start with him. He votes to grant Eugene Akravin access. Meanwhile, Eugene, waiting outside, discovers messages about Sinia carved on the wall. Damn! It's over, it's over. Eugene is targeted by the old lady again. Get out of my way. What? You're going to put me at a huge disadvantage. Do you even know what you're saying? Eugene doesn't. I'm the renowned, the most beautiful flower in the Magic Tower. The top of the beauty hierarchy among the female Magic Tower Masters. Female Magic Tower Master. Isn't there only one of you? The White Tower Master, instantly shot dead, quickly changed the subject. Regarding Eugene's entry and exit from Akervin, 5 people voted in favor, 2 voted against, and 1 remained neutral. So it's settled then. Can I go upstairs now? Aren't you curious about everyone's stance? I'm not curious. To tell you the truth, the one who remains neutral is me. The reason why the White Pagoda Master stays neutral is to avoid getting involved in unpleasant disputes. And that Blue Pagoda Master who's always been complaining about his midlife crisis, actually ended up voting in favor. Surprised, aren't you? Eugene, let's guess. Which 2 people are opposed? I'm not curious. It's the Green Tower Master and the head of the Magic Guild. I told you I'm not curious. Are you really 17? Such a lukewarm reaction. Serves you right for being single. Nothing. I'm leaving first. You should rest first. The reason why the White Tower Master came to strike up a conversation with the Yujing was because she had her eyes on Eugene's potential. The Wind Sword White Tower Master, Meng Qixi, is the strongest elf master of the current era. Both the Lightning Elf King and the Earth Elf King have signed contracts with her. Her dream is to bring all the Elf Kings into her harem. But the Wind Elf King has refused to see him. So he wants to obtain Eugene's Stormwind Sword. Previously, the White Tower Master had also sent a letter to the Reinhardt family. However, head of the House Gilead refused to lend it no matter what. Sorry, wife and swordsmanship are not for loan. Then what if your wife asks you to lend her the sword? Still not lending it. The Stormwind sword is merely on loan to Eugene for temporary use by the family. That Wind Spirit King is so aloof and arrogant now. Eugene summoned him for 4 years and he still hasn't reappeared. So lending him to the White Tower Master is no big deal. But the deal can't be made so easily. Maybe he can get some unexpected surprises. The Storm Sword is a must-have for the White Tower Master. But he's not in a hurry. Eugene came to the front desk. I've received a pass to access the Arc-Live Library. The Royal Library, Arc-Live, has a total of 15 floors. Floors 12 to 14 hold Senia's books of magic. Each floor of Arc-Live has its own designated historian. They were all legendary great magicians in history, including the founding king of Arrow, and the wise Senia. It's also possible that Senia's message is hidden among his historian's records. The White Tower Master knows that Eugene is very interested in Senia. After all, Eugene debuted, and Arrow visited Senia's mansion. If Eugene agreed to lend him the Stormwind sword, he would tell Eugene his exclusive information. But Eugene ignored him. The White Tower Master planned to go to the library himself to check carefully. Are you planning to go to the 12th floor? I knew you liked Senia. If it were you, I could accompany you too. No need. You should just play downstairs by yourself. Hearing this, the White Tower Master seemed a little gleeful. Everyone experiences a great deal of shock when they first encounter the magical truth. He advised Eugene to prepare himself mentally. It's best to put on a diaper now. Don't be scared to pee your pants. Addicted to gold. What a nasty old woman. As the elevator doors slowly opened, Eugene froze in place. That unique hair color, that appearance. He would recognize her even if she turned to ashes. Welcome to the Senia Temple Street. I'm absolutely certain I'm not mistaken. This is exactly how Senia looked in my memory, but a younger version. Just 300 years apart, and the goddess has left behind a child. Which man could accept something like that? And she seems to be a bit slow on the uptake. How could Senia have a child? What are you thinking about, Master Eugene? I am the familiar managing Senia's hall. So this is Senia's familiar? No wonder the old lady had that expression earlier. How do you know my name? Didn't you register your name on the first floor just now? So it was in Akali language. All the familiars are connected to the magic system. The little girl's name is Mel. Eugene wasn't surprised by the name, because Senia's last name is Meldian. But she didn't expect Senia to create a god familiar that was exactly like her. Are all the familiars here in human form? No, only I am special here. The mage said before, magic capable of creating life is forbidden. But Eugene doesn't believe Senia would touch the forbidden. I'm not truly a living being. Senia created my body with magic, but my spirit is sealed there. The scene before him filled Eugene with wonder. He couldn't understand what that thing was. This is the essence of Lord Senia's lifelong magic. Shouldn't magic be in a spell book? I'm saying that's not a book at all. I'm saying that it is the book. Young man, your thinking needs to keep up with the times. You're stuck in the past. It's worthy of Senia's creation, the ink of history. This smug little expression brimming with pride. I can't say they're very similar. I can only say they're exactly alike. Was Senia like you before he went into seclusion? Of course not. Lord Senia was noble and elegant. He just didn't smile much. Eugene couldn't possibly imagine. That little girl who wore her heart on her sleeve, in the end, became so noble and elegant. She not only wrote magic that transcended time, but also created a familiar with a personality just like her childhood self. He couldn't help but walk forward. He wanted to find proof that Senia was still alive. You're Senia's familiar. You knew he would be in seclusion, right? However, Eugene didn't get the answer he wanted. Mel didn't know where Senia went at all. The magicians of Yarrow didn't believe Mel didn't know either. They would come to rummage through Mel's memories every few years. Eugene understood. The reason why they would rummage through Mel's memories was not just to look for Senia's whereabouts. If it weren't for Senia's magical status, they would even try every means to dismantle Mel. From Mel's introduction, I learned that Aklavin only disclosed the upper part of the magic. Senia took the middle and lower parts before disappearing. Mel noticed that Eugene was very interested in Senia, Plus, Eugene is a descendant of the Reinhardt family. This made him very curious. Because, as far as he knew, Xenia had never contacted the Reinhardts since settling in Yarrow. Eugene was also curious. According to the Reinhardts' records, after Bemet returned from Heimat, he hadn't contacted his former companions either. He hadn't communicated with his previous companions. Their last meeting was at Bemut's funeral. Xenia mentioned her former companions. Lord Xenia said Molan was an idiot. She said Ennis was a snake-like woman. Did she say anything about Hermo? Of course she did. She said he was a complete fool, idiot, jerk, and obnoxious person. A useless oaf who wouldn't succeed even if given a chance. Every time Lord Xenia talks about Hermo, he seems to be in a lot of pain. So, what did he say about Bemut? From Mel's words, Eugene learned that Xenia had never mentioned Bemut. He never praised him, and never cursed him, and I've never commented on it. What exactly happened back then in Xenia? They were teaming up to fight the Demon Lord. The man was killed by a small monster, leaving the girl alone to grieve. Even the smile in her portrait needed to be created by the artist. Now the boy has returned after his rebirth. But the girl is already hanging on the wall. Although the boy didn't believe the girl was gone, he couldn't find any evidence that she was still alive. Eugene learned from Mel's painting that Xenia had never truly smiled happily. The reason he asked the painter to add a smile was simply because someone had once enjoyed seeing him smile. Upon hearing this, Eugene completely broke down. A mere fatal wound. Why didn't I make it back then? Now my good brothers and my girl are hanging on the wall. How can I possibly handle this alone? Uncontrollably, Eugene wanted to pat Mel on the head. After all, she looked so much like Xenia. But Mel brushed him away. After all, some people may look like Lolas on the surface, but they are actually over 200 years old. They've long passed their warranty period. Patting her head would be a very opportunistic thing for him. Xenia's hall doesn't just contain magic. There are also many magical props Xenia has collected. For example, Xenia's favorite staff, Akasha. Of course, Eugene recognizes this staff. It was just an accident. Why didn't Xenia take him away? Kasha is made from the root of the world tree. It's the most powerful magic staff in the world. One of a kind. After all, the proud fairies wouldn't agree to cut down the root of the world tree again. Of course, there's a story behind it. Xenia was once abandoned in the fairy forest. At first, the fairies didn't pay much attention. They just planned to raise her casually and see what happened. But when Xenia displayed extraordinary magical talent, things changed. Therefore, they used the roots of the world tree to craft her staff. They even placed a red dragon's heart as the magic core. Staffs using dragon stars as cores only exist in two in the world. The other one is called the Crimson Rose. Its owner is a lich named Bell. It's the one that killed Hermo 300 years ago. It should be in the hands of the black magician who signed a contract with the confined Demon King now. May I take a look? Mel thinks Eugene is a toad marrying a frog. Ugly but skilled. If anyone could pick up Akasha, it wouldn't be here. He only acknowledges Xenia as his only boss. Eugene thought it was hilarious. He almost became his boss's wife back then. The reason she was ignoring you all was because she was waiting for me. Eugene poured all his magic into her in one go, but he received no response. This Xenia guy, compared to the necklace, how wonderful it would have been if you'd left Akasha to me. You seem to like Lord Xenia very much. No, I'm just slightly interested. Are young people these days so dishonest? I simply like stories of the past. Then you should like this book as well. Da-da-la-la-la-ho. This one. The Great Adventures of the Brave Bemut. This is a fairy tale book that records the history made by the great Bemut and his companions. Speaking of this book, Eugene is extremely angry, because it depicts Helmo as a dull-witted idiot. Mel says Eugene misunderstood. The one Eugene read must be the revised edition. It's different from the original version. In the original version, Hermo was much stupider. He was a python with incomplete brain development, a completely underdeveloped cerebellum, a truly stupid contestant. He was all about making sudden leaps forward. Later, to maintain the hero's image, it was slightly beautified. And there's something even more interesting here. That is, Xenia extracted her own memories, personally left behind. They are also the truest images of the companions who once adventured together. Case closed. Case closed. Eugene is just an arrogant, self-important man of steel. Seeing the illusions of his former companions, he immediately starts boasting. At first, Mel thought he was talking about Bamut. Bamut is just a random passerby. Herm is the team's visual representative. Does he have a kind of charm that makes you feel tamed by a wild beast? How did you manage to hold back from vomiting after saying something so disgusting? After the rant, the two began to consult magical materials. Senia's collection is on the 12th to 14th floors. The 13th floor mainly houses Senia's notes and research. But for Eugene, he couldn't understand them. The 14th floor mainly houses research results and grimoires. Of course, Eugene still couldn't understand them. Instead of aiming too high, Mel suggested that Eugene should experience magic. That's Senia's most famous masterpiece. It not only records the most suitable way to use the rings, but also enhances magical power, achieving multiple magical construction lines from a molecular structure, inputting and saving magic in an unconscious state, including the ideal driving method of the rings. That's the essence of magic. What is he saying? Muggles like you wouldn't understand. Anyone can understand it. Then it couldn't be the greatest grimoire in history. You say it's a book. Then tell me how to read this book. It's simple. All you need are hands. Eugene raised his hand, mimicking the image. Although he can continuously input magic. But it seems like nothing happened at all. This damn thing isn't a loss at all. But the very next second, Eugene felt like he was floating on the surface of a lake. In an instant, he began to plummet rapidly. He couldn't tell which way was up or down. It felt like a dream, but also not a dream. He was still conscious, though, but he couldn't move his body. He only felt extremely weak. This was an ocean of magic. This was a sight Eugene had never seen before. He had just been at the bottom of the sea, and in a flash, he was floating in midair. As the tide receded, a gigantic ring was revealed. More rings instantly split off. Countless. Endless. Immediately afterwards, Eugene began to fall rapidly. After regaining consciousness, he found himself already lying on the ground. Although he didn't understand, he felt deeply shocked. What on earth had Senia conjured up? Mel, standing beside them, had a mischievous grin on his face. He thought Eugene's performance was pretty good. It was just that he fainted and foamed at the mouth for 2.5 hours. The new Tower Master and the White Tower Master had literally pissed themselves back then. He couldn't help but recall the White Tower Master's warning. It seemed that it wasn't a figure of speech, but rather, a matter of experience. So, what are your impressions after coming into contact with magic? It's not a question of whether he dares to think. He's just, a very magical being. Eugene is clearly a muggle. Senia once reached the pinnacle of magic, the 9th circle, but he didn't give up on his cultivation. Through constant exploration and research, he transcended his limits, and he defined this new realm as eternal motion. Since then, perpetual motion has become the ultimate goal of magicians, but no one has ever successfully crossed that wall. Perpetual motion allows the ring to split and form a cycle. It's the ideal perfection. The driving method halves spell cooldown and doubles the power. With this level of skill, Senia could solo the Demon King. This made Eugene fall into deep thought. It's not just Senia. Including Ainz-Ul-Gaun and Albedo, they should have become even stronger. But why didn't he challenge the Demon King again? Something must have happened that he doesn't know about. It must be. Oh no, here we go again. The old woman is hitting on the handsome young man again. Eugene, who just got out of the elevator, was blocked. This time, she's determined to get Eugene's storm sword. He even wants to make some unspeakable deals with Eugene. Seeing this, Eugene just sneered. You want to talk about this? I'm wide awake now, but I'm really not interested in anything idiotic. The mage also chimed in from the side, saying that he has a magic tower at home, after all. That thing is only good for being a table leg, alright. What are you, a sissy, messing around for? It's obvious, isn't it? You already have 2 elf kings. Why are you still so greedy? What's wrong with a woman wanting to expand her harem? Did I eat your rice or something? Actually, Luoli and Bayan are afraid that after the White Tower Master obtains power, she will change sides. After all, the political situation in Aarons is currently volatile. But that woman, she clearly isn't very bright. She shouldn't be a problem. If I weren't in need of her help, the White Pagoda Master would probably have killed her already. I've thought about it. I don't want an idiot. As if you're going to get her. Kid, I'd at most just lend her to you. Never mind then. Goodbye, don't see you off. We're not meeting. These two guys are really something. Hateful, let's just count that day as a year. Lend me the storm sword for a week. I'll lend you my idiot for 7 years. For the White Tower Master, sealing the Elf King is his absolute goal. That's his lifelong pursuit. His eternal dream. And then, Lollipop Bayan popped up again. He said the White Tower Master had something incredibly powerful and precious. Can you shut up, you attention seeker? Storm Sword is my dearest love. My close friends and relatives. What's a brother anyway? I'm a little curious. It's the Dark Cloak. I told you to shut up, you sissy. To my knowledge, you haven't used the Dark Cloak in nearly 10 years. Rather than letting it gather dust at home, take it out and trade it. Isn't that better? I don't want to exchange. I'm just curious what the Dark Cloak is. It's just a normal leopard print autumn jacket. That's all. The Dark Cloak is a high-level spatial magic item. It can directly transfer frontal magical attacks. It doesn't have that function at all. Pure nonsense. The surface of the cloak is also equipped with high-level protective magic. Everything within the 5th ring is under my control. How is this getting more and more absurd? The cloak also has an independent storage space. You can freely store and switch between various weapons. It's incredibly convenient for traveling, living, killing, and silencing. I'll take this dark cloak even if I suffer a little loss. But I need to ask my family first. Youngster, you're thinking a little too prettily. I think I overused my brain in Aklowen just now. Let's find a place to rest first. What a coincidence. There's a newly opened bath center just ahead. How about we go to the 3rd floor to relax? I'll call to make a reservation now. Ah. Auntie, you're still here? The White Tower Master, completely outmaneuvered, was speechless. He could only reluctantly agree to lend the dark cloak to Eugene. I know you're in a hurry, but please hold on. I still need to ask my family first. Head of the family, Gilad, didn't object to lending the storm sword. But a member of the Reinhardt family must be present. Is this the dark cloak? Isn't it cool? I would look even cooler in it than you. The White Tower Master, who no longer wished to speak, quickly changed the subject. He was more curious about who would come to watch. According to what he knew, Old Six and Wen would come. They would be accompanied by the Black Messenger of the Reinhardt family, who is known as the Hound. They are the guardians of the family's rules. A year ago, Ji-Wen officially became one of them. The Reinhardt family's white messengers are loyal only to the main family, but the black messengers pledge their allegiance to the name Reinhardt itself. Only the most renowned and powerful figures in the family's history can join their ranks. The Senate behind them holds equal status with the Gilded. Although the legends are exaggerated, a bit far-fetched, but Eugene lived with his family for 4 years, and never once saw. This made Eugene very curious. Just how powerful is the legendary Black Messenger? Feel the same. This is what you want to see, right? Damn Eugene. He actually wants to take my clothes off. If you know, be careful. What if I get snot on it? How am I going to wear it later? Key copying, 3 yuan per key. Do you copy 3 keys for 10 yuan? You too, stop showing off. The big one's coming. As the car door slowly opened, a figure appeared silently. How could he be here? "12. What are you doing in Arrow? My mother's birthday is coming up. I'm here to buy things for 10. And I'm also curious how you're doing." Eugene responded indifferently. He's doing well. I'm completely speechless. I have so much to say, but I can't utter a single word right now. This big pig hoof doesn't know when he'll learn to court the cabbage. At this moment, Ji Wen's figure slowly appeared. The spirited young man is still so full of energy. Following closely behind him is a burly old man. And it's obvious that he's a very powerful character. A thick, bushy beard and strong muscles, quite the combination. This guy must be connected to Big Brother. Then, another person emerged from the carriage. A very pure magic user. He must be here for a contract exchange. And after them, a woman with an incredibly powerful aura. It's not hard to see. He has an almost mystical confidence in his own abilities. He walks with such power and authority. And he must be extremely skilled in boxing. He must be the most important person here. It's been almost 30 years, hasn't it? Lori Bean, you've actually become the master of the Crimson Magic Tower. It's all thanks to the incompetence of my peers. They're all just empty titles. You must be Eugene Reinhardt. Although I don't know his identity. Eugene does. The luggage is correct then. I'm Kalman Reinhardt. Technically, I'm your great-aunt. But don't call me that. Eugene's eyes glazed over instantly. This woman looks so young. She's actually Gilad's aunt. How could such a big shot appear because of his own affairs? Why did she come? The young mage showed excellent hospitality. He led everyone to the conference room for talks. Kalman is the previous head of the family's sister. Because she couldn't get married, she stayed at her family home. Now she's the captain of the 3rd squad of the Black Market Knights. The bearded old man is from the Crab clan. Now he's the vice-captain of the 3rd squad. Magic users are very rare in the family. He is also from the Crab clan. He will be the one to handle the transaction with the White Tower Master. As magic flickered at his fingertips, a magically formed contract appeared before the White Tower Master. What if the Storm Sword is destroyed? Why isn't it clearly stated? Are you a gangster family? Carlman, who had been striking a pose by the window for a long time, responded. If the sword is destroyed, we pay with our lives. He considered the Storm Sword priceless. If you want to quit, you have to stake your life on it. My life is priceless too. Then there's nothing to discuss. Kalman slowly picked up his cigar. But didn't light it. No discussion, no discussion. I don't care. Lend or not, it's up to you. Cheer up. The deal was about to fall through. The magician quickly tried to salvage it. He explained that it was just a formality of the contract. The White Tower Master needn't worry. If it really happened, we can discuss it then. The White Tower Master saw through them. They were trying to swindle him. This is knowing your own needs. Relying on his creditor's status. He immediately began to act. At this time, Kalman slowly pulled out a huge pocket watch, muttering to himself, telling them to hurry up, as he still had to go to the prison for an interrogation. The dark mage, Lalabian, who was imprisoned, learned of this. He's here for the sake of establishing virtue. But we clearly decided to handle it according to the laws of Arrow earlier. This seems completely different from what Jareed said. So what should we do? The woman pulled out a large treasure from her chest. The men beside her were stunned. Such a broad bosom. It actually hides a secret. He has a large pocket watch. And a small wristwatch. He's holding a cigar but not lighting it. What on earth is this guy? Kalman confidently immersed himself in his own world. He holds the sun and moon, plucks stars from the sky. There's no one else like him in the world. Eugene didn't know how to begin. He could only use his eyes to signal to the White Tower Master. The trade had to continue. If he borrowed the Tempest Sword for 3 hours, then he could get his cloak back in at most 2 months. The angrier the White Tower Master became, the less he spoke. He just wanted to sign the contract as soon as possible. To get it done quickly. Get away from those dogs as soon as possible. That's how the man got his clothes. And the woman got the great sword she'd been longing for. This style is okay. I really like the fluffy collar. It reminds one of a lion's mane. It's just that the color has a little flaw. If it were white, then he'd be even more handsome. What is he saying? What does this have to do with him? Quickly take it off and give it to him. He wants to try it on. If he wants to wear it, why doesn't he just say so? How can a big shot's thoughts be spoken out loud? Seeing that Kalman was ready, Eugene could only reluctantly offer the dark cloak. Kalman struck a pose on his own, still, commenting on the cloak. There should be a lion ornament on the chest. The family crest should be embroidered on the back. I'm only lending it to you. Don't mess around up there. How can a big shot pay attention to the barking of others? He just turned around and left. Coming with us? No, sure won't. I want to be with Eugene. Then the two strolled out into the street, preparing to choose a gift for the second madam. Eugene used this opportunity to tell Sure about Shuran's liking for bunny ears and uniforms, including those unspeakable books Shuran hid under his bed. After all, Shuran will become the head of the family. If the family's maids were all dressed as bunny girls, it would damage the family's image. But I also hope Sure can consider his brother's reputation, and pretend he accidentally discovered it. So you don't like bunny ears? Who would like that kind of thing? XP. Is it that strange? By the way, why do you want me to follow you when you're shopping? Sure turned to Eugene. His helpless eyes were full of disappointment. Do you want me to wander around alone in a foreign country? You're not a master swordsman. Could you possibly get lost? Saying you don't want to. Your body tells a different story. If you're so capable, don't follow me. Eugene's face turned red with embarrassment. A strong will to survive made him shut his mouth in time. I sometimes wonder how Eugene spends his birthday. Did he receive any presents? Eugene said he'd skip it. Lollipop and Hera wanted to give him gifts, but he refused. Who's Hera? Is she a woman? A sorceress from the color test tower. With that name, could she possibly be a man? You didn't come here just to buy gifts, did you, Arrow? What exactly are you planning to do with Lord Kalman? You found out. So, number 12 is clinging to Kalman, wanting to be a top aide. After all, number 10 will become the head of the family, and he's not interested in being the head of the family. Plus, the second madam wants him to enter into an arranged marriage. Speaking of which, number 12 secretly glanced at Eugene, but Eugene didn't react at all. He could only turn around in a panic. If he can become a big shot's follower, he'll be set for the future. The second madam won't be able to play her arranged marriage game anymore. Eugene highly approves of Shire's choice. If you have a plan, go for it yourself. That's very excellent. Lyde was taken back to her maternal home by the Grand Madam. They are now urgently hiring a tutor, intending to rekindle her relationship with magic. Everyone has a bright future. Don't talk about sad things. Let's go eat. Eugene, held in her embrace, realized that 12 had indeed grown up. He couldn't believe that this 17-year-old girl was only 14 3 years ago. She's no longer the ordinary, unremarkable, penniless girl she once was. Meanwhile, the dark wizard in prison on the other side has been beaten to death. But even under such severe torture, he didn't speak. At this time, a figure in the darkness slowly said, Jefford started practicing dark magic decades ago, but his talent was limited. If he dies of old age, his soul will belong to the demon race. Therefore, he took a risk and contacted Lyd. He was hoping to use Reinhardt to gain power. It was all his own doing. I hear the succubus queen wasn't involved. So, were you? Pozak Robies. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. No, he's the ruggedly handsome Dark Tower Master, now accused of luring a sunny youth into the pit of dark magic. Although they have no evidence proving he did it, he also has no evidence proving he didn't. After all, the jerk doesn't look like a good guy anyway. Defamation, definitely defamation. If it were my friend, he would have made it seamless. How could he possibly leave any evidence? Don't you want to hear what you're saying? My friend bowed his head to apologize and cooperate with the investigation. It's simply because my friend's style has always been low-key and steady. What made you think of him as just a friend? That gave you the illusion that you could easily manipulate my friend. In a critical moment, he instantly flashed in front of me. In an instant, a murderous atmosphere filled the entire space. It seems you intend to have a go first. Seeing the Black Tower Lord's resolve, Kalman decided to try a different approach first. After all, severe torture and mental magic yielded no information. A reckless attack would be rather groundless. The Black Tower Lord was also pragmatic, saying that it's been dry and hot lately, and everyone's tempers are a little frayed. I absolutely had no reason to plan this. I am completely innocent. What about the other male demon who planned to sign with Lida? He's not able to come himself right now. Are you sure you want to see? It doesn't matter, the inconvenient thing is right here. One more won't make a difference. Hearing this, the Black Tower Master smiled and raised his right hand. Pure evil energy manifested into a shadow beast. It instantly tore apart the space above. Then, a demon's head was ripped out. He didn't have a peaceful end. Need me to bag that for you? Oops, looks like I slipped. The spattered blood splashed onto Bai Shi, the Black Tower Master's, face. Then, Kalman also signaled for the knights to leave. I hope you really have nothing to do with this. And you need to contact Eugene Reinhardt. Only the confined demon lord can control that guy. You should go back and rest if you have nothing to do. Kalman ignored the Dark Tower Lord's barking. After all, there's no evidence to suggest he did it. He suspected it was another dark magician, Amelia, who had made a pact with the confined demon lord. This woman has been eyeing the Dark Tower Lord's position. And he also attempted to instigate a war between the Harmer and the Hill Empire. Because the Hill Empire is preparing for war. Then the Reinhardt family will also participate. Then the logic of enticing the eldest son of the main family closes the loop. Of course, this is currently just speculation without evidence. Kalman asked, what would have happened if we had engaged the Dark Tower Master just now? Tywin thought that besides Kalman, they'll all die there. He's really not good at fighting mages. Kalman was also worried about the team losing members. That's why he didn't make a move. How could the proud boss be so approachable? Although Lyd returned to his mother-in-law's family home, he will have to live under the surveillance of the Black Mourners for the rest of his life. I heard the matriarch is recruiting a family magic tutor. We can't rule out the possibility that the mastermind will contact Liddell again. Ji-won has always been puzzled. Why would a boy who loves magic so much become obsessed with dark magic? Hopefully, he can turn over a new leaf after returning to his maternal family. Then, the group prepared to return to the Reinhardt family home. Sher-Air's short reunion with Eugene also came to an end. Although she was reluctant to part, she could only wave goodbye. Goodbye, Eugene. Reinhardt. Would you like to join the Black Knight Order? I hear the second squad captain is looking for a right-hand man. Want to skip 30 years of hard work? Isn't he the second squad captain? What kind of roundabout way of speaking is this? Thank you for your kind offer. But right now, I just want to play. I don't want to work yet. At this moment, there seemed to be a hint of regret in Kalman's eyes. Sure enough, young lads are popular with older ladies. It's been so long. Why isn't there any news from the White Tower Master yet? He should still be working hard. If he succeeded, he'd definitely come and show off. At this moment, atop the White Magic Tower, a figure stood in the storm. The White Tower Master, with a constipated expression, raised the storm sword high. But progress was clearly not going well.